It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. I'm Joe Castello, and I am your podcast host. If you're a new listener, welcome to you. This podcast has been going for 10 years in the business, and actually a broadcast career much, much longer than that. But if you're a first-time listener, we appreciate you. Thank you for checking this out. If you love NHRA drag racing, I think you'll love it, and you'll want to subscribe. We've got the stars of drag racing. We've got a lot of embedded people, informative people, people who know what's going on in NHRA drag racing. And frankly, I'm very happy and proud of the work that we have done over 10 years. I hope you like the show. I hope you enjoy it. It is brought to you by some great sponsors like HusseyPerformance.net, makers of quality copper head gaskets, MagicDryUS.com, Magic Dry Cat Spot Litter, supporting WFO Radio. We really appreciate it. Rodax, CoffeeAndGrills.com. Marvin Rodak makes the best stuff. Frankly, period. End of story. Rodax, CoffeeAndGrills.com. Samtech.edu. And the folks at Samtech have even sponsored a second podcast called Factory Stock Podcast, brought to you by Samtech.edu, that features the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. Drew Skillman going to be on the next episode of that one. Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants and Drag Racing Edge magazine stepping up to support WFO Radio. Our guests this week, Ron Capps, Bo Butner, Scott Palmer, and of course, Alan Reinhart, going to preview the Route 66 Nationals and the Jegs All-Stars, going to debrief on the NHRA Virginia Nationals out there in Richmond. Last week, I drove from Richmond to Tennessee during the week, and so we're doing it all this week. The archive is absolutely loaded. Of course, the Memorial Day weekend was fantastic. The Grand Prix of Monaco, the Coke 600, the Indy 500. I love racing. I love that NHRA has that weekend off so we can enjoy the racing, spend the time with our families, all of that, but then hit it hard the following week, which is what we intend to do. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Our first guest joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA and will be calling the action this weekend in Chicago, the Jegs All-Stars. It's going to be great. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. Missed you last week.
Yes. I was driving from Richmond to Johnson City, Tennessee, and enjoyed the drive, but missed out on our post-Virginia Nationals Winners Edition. I need to figure out a way to do the show like while I'm on the road in a rental car. It's easy when you're on the road in a rental car, a little harder when I'm on the road in a rental car.
Well, come on, man. It's 2019. There's got to be technology out there.
There's got to be.
You're the one that's always telling me to, get rid of my flip phone and get rid of my original Apple with the discs and step up into the real world.
You're right. I got to figure it out. Maybe some of the audience.
Macintosh. I couldn't come up with the word Macintosh. I hate that.
Macintosh. So funny. But hey, I do take credit for you dumping your flip phone, by the way. That's on one of my resumes. Like, I consider myself one of the people that pushed Reinhart over the top. Get a smartphone, man. Get rid of the Razor. And you did.
Yeah, I still kind of miss the Razor, but the smartphone's handy.
Razor was cool. It definitely had its moment in time. There was a time when the Razor ruled the roost, but now it is gone.
Yeah, okay. I guess time moves on.
Time moves on. But this week, we can double up with a little Virginia Nationals recap, a very hot race. But a good time was had by all. And Steve Torrence and Ron Capps, Bo Butner, Andrew Hines. So the winners were doubled up as well from the previous event. We had Factory Stock Showdown, a great final round with Drew Skillman and Bo Butner. But just like that, here we are, headed to the Route 66 Nationals, which also has the Jegs All-Stars, which, if you love sportsman racing, that is the race to go to, because the best of the best are there.
Yeah, it's a great weekend when they invite, the champions from all around the country to come out and duke it out in their very own all-star race, which takes place on Saturday. Also makes for kind of an extended dance remix Sunday, since we've got some extra racing that we've got to do on that day as well. But it's, it's always just give us good weather, and it'll be a good weekend. It's the competition's fun. The team competition as well as the individual competitions are fun to keep an eye on, and it's a really fun weekend. Just give us good weather.
So let's do a rapid fire results of Richmond, which I thought in year 2 of the return that they did a great job, and it was very challenging dealing with the heat. Track conditions the track was great. Everybody kept saying, the track is great, the track is great, the track is great. Midday Sunday, though, it was just a tough deal. Bottom line, though, Steve Torrence wins his 3rd race in a row, so as defending champ, now going on a run. And those guys are going to be very tough to stop. They were the favorites to win the championship at the start of the season. Now they're proving it on the track.
Yeah, they've had a good race car all year. They didn't have a whole lot of Sunday luck for the first few races, and of course Phoenix. I think they just forgot to go to Phoenix. But other than that, they've had a pretty good race car, and everybody knew there was going to be in the mix. But you've still got some other teams out there that made some pretty substantial changes during the off season that maybe haven't quite hit their stride yet. I look at all 4 Castello cars being in the winner's circle as being a huge plus for them. Mike Salinas is making some ground. Brittany and Dave Grubnick and that team, they're starting to gel a little bit, even though, they've had some number 1 qualifiers and they won Houston, but I think they've still got some room for improvement. So I'm not ready to pencil Steve's name in on the championship trophy just yet.
Absolutely. Those final 6 races, and they know the final 6 races are what's most important, but you must make the countdown. I have no doubt that Steve's going to make the countdown. Brittany Force is 2nd. Doug Coletta is 3rd. They're all going to make the countdown. But looking at the bottom half of the field, Richie Crampton 8th, Terry McMillan 9th, Austin Prock 10th, Scott Palmer 11th, Billy Torrence 12th, all in the mix for that top 10 position, which means 2 of those guys are going to be out. Jordan Vandergriff sitting 13, a considerable drop-off behind. So maybe it's 12 racers going for 10 spots. Billy Torrence, a part-time racer, one of those. Billy needs to show up to some races, and he may make the countdown. What do you think about that, Alan? Should there be a little added intensity on the Billy Torrence side of the Capco team to try to get a second driver into the countdown?
I honestly don't think so. They may look at it a little bit later in the year and go, you know what, if we just go to a couple of West Coast races, then we've got a shot. But you got to remember that they pay for all of that with Capco contracting. And Billy stays home and makes sure the business stays humming while Steve's on the road all the time and gets away when he can. I don't think there's any question that the car's good enough, the team's good enough. We see his performance when he shows up and what they do when they're there. But I really don't see him stretching the schedule. I think that Steve is their championship car, and they're going to keep focused on that. And Billy will come out and play when he can, or maybe test and tune when he can. But I really don't see them expanding their schedule. Of course, I've certainly been wrong before.
Absolutely. Funny car, Ron Capps winning back-to-back races since the car switch out there in Charlotte. And, as it heated up and the conditions got tricky, Ron Tobler was able to navigate and take a couple of wins back-to-back, vaulting Capps from, I think at lowest, he was like 9th or 10th in the standings, now sitting 3rd. Robert Hight continues to show the way with JR, the reigning champ, 2nd. But I can't help but think of that second-round matchup between Ron Capps and Robert Hight, where they both blew the tires off in the first, 5 feet of the racetrack. Those races are so entertaining. We're going to hear from Capps on the show. He's going to give us his version of the deal. But, wow, that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and I have all the respect in the world for Ron Tobler. I've known him for 100 years. But I think that he would tell you the same thing. He didn't win that race. He got away with it. They didn't have the best car in any round other than the final. But they, as you said, Capps outpedaled Robert Hight in the second round. They got away with a win in the third round when the thing was on 7 cylinders from the time he hit the gas to the finish line. And in the final round, inexplicably, J.R. Todd, who had the best car all day long, knocked the tires off and popped the panels out of it right at the starting line. So that was the best run of the day that the Napa team made. But they certainly didn't go in there and kick butt and take names. They went in there and got away with one. it doesn't look any different on the point sheet, and it doesn't look any different on the trophy case, but that's what really happened there. Some days you go in and dominate, and some days you're not so good, but you just get away with it. And that was the case this past weekend, and I think that Ron Tobler would tell you the same thing. He basically told me the same thing in the winner's circle.
Oh, I have no doubt. I do want to give him credit, though. First round, they did run 399. So first round, they had a good car.
Okay, yes. And then the track temperature started coming up. At one point in the day, it was 140 degrees, which we haven't seen
crazy
all year. And, it's amazing to me that the Coletta cars, if they would have qualified in better positions, that might have changed the outcome of the day considerably, because they ended up racing each other in the second round. And in classic fashion, somebody has to lose that race. J.R. Todd won, Sean Langdon lost, but Sean would have beaten any of the other 6 cars that were in that round. He just happened to be racing his teammate that time. So, those guys need to spread out a little bit in qualifying, I think, to give themselves a chance. But those Coletta cars on a hot racetrack are looking pretty good to me.
That is true. They are the kings of the hot racetrack. Pro Stock, Bo Butner, Greg Anderson, final round. Greg left first by a couple of thou, but Bo outran him by a couple of thou. A typical Pro Stock style race, right? Couple of thou separating the two. I found it to be a very exciting Pro Stock race day, and really drove home a point that I tried to make in the NHRA National Dragster, that, I missed Pro Stock. Like this, whatever it is, this thing that is Pro Stock, it's different than all the other things, and it's got its own place and its own spot, and we lived without it for a little while, and now it's back. Do we like it? Did we miss it? I certainly did.
It's pretty amazing what Bo Butner is doing right now, and I agree. It was great to see the Pro Stock cars back on track. The Mountain Motor guys put on a great show, and, we had some other things kind of fill in the gap there while they were gone. But I'm a Pro Stock guy. I've, lived it and watched it and followed it for, the entire time that I've been following NHRA, just because even when I was younger, I was always in awe of the Nitro cars, but they were science fiction to me.
Right.
I was a guy that had a car with a carburetor, had a car with a 4-speed, and Pro Stock is like the ultimate of that. So I've been a fan of that since forever. And then having an opportunity to work in the field for a few years back a while gave me just an even deeper understanding of it. But Bo Butner is doing something pretty amazing right now. 4 wins in the first 5 races. When you look at a class that's that competitive, he certainly doesn't have a performance advantage over anybody. He certainly, isn't like knocking a tree over every round that he goes up there, but he's just getting it done. And there's just some days and some times when you just can't do anything wrong. No matter what you do, your win light comes on. And there's sometimes when you do everything perfectly and you can't buy a win light for nothing. So right now, Bo's riding a wave, and, good on him. I'm glad he didn't retire. And right now he's glad too.
Yeah. And I just want to drive home a point. Darrell Heron. Wow. He good. That's my point. Darrell Heron, good. Because he can run from the Pro Stock, staging lanes to the factory stock staging lanes and work on a car that, other than the fact that it's got 4 wheels, can't be that much different. And yet, one boosted, one not boosted, one on a 9-inch wide tire, one on a much bigger tire, weight, just everything, and tuned them both to the final rounds and, dominance. Like this guy, I don't know how often we say his name amongst the, the great crew chiefs, but we need to.
He's a guy that has just such a wide variety of experience in different cars, and you've nailed it right there. That he's as comfortable making adjustments on the Showdown car as he is making adjustments on the Pro Stock car. And right now he's getting it done. He's a guy that has a very sharp mechanical mind and understands how important the nuances are. That sometimes all you need to do is use a little tweak. You don't need to necessarily get out the big hammer.
Some big things that happened also, Greg Anderson getting to the final. We had Greg on the previous week, and is definitely hungry. The KB guys, they said they went to work, and certainly the results showed it, which was cool. But also Fernando Quadra Jr. getting a round win in his first race, all very cool. As some new blood coming to the sport of Pro Stock, living their dreams, getting out there, getting the job done. And it was fun to see just the wide variety of different personalities go at it once again.
Yeah, Fernando making his Pro Stock debut. He's driving a car that they bought from KB. He's got a motor that they also purchased, but it's not a KB motor. So he's a little back on power from where some of the other guys are. But you know what? You pull up, you stage your car, and all you got to beat is the guy in the other lane. You don't have to beat everybody on the property. Alex had a problem, and Fernando didn't, so he gets to see his first Sunday win line, and nice to see new blood, and nice to see all the enthusiasm in the category.
And if you're learning to drive, and this is just my personal philosophy, I want you to, double check me on it. The process of learning to drive is a bit of a process. Like, you got to go through an arc of just like anything else. If you're going to go through that arc, maybe having the ragged edge, cutting edge, extremely high horsepower, perfect engine is not the time to be learning. Maybe having a slightly older, slightly down on power, slightly, a couple generations old engine is the perfect power plant for a brand new driver who's going to be taking some lumps and missing some shifts and kind of acclimating themselves to the race car. Why would you have the best of the best perfect thing in there for a rookie driver to go in there and destroy?
Well, you're not going to destroy an engine for the most part. You miss a shift, you've got a rev limiter there for that. You got, it's not a deal like where if top fuel car smokes the tires, you don't get your foot off the gas, it's going to blow up. But they're different, and driving he's a tenth and a half off the pace, so he's not completely out in left field. But my feeling is that if you're trying to learn to drive a 6.5 second Pro Stock car, you need to drive a 6.5 second Pro Stock car, not a 6.7 second Pro Stock car. But they're doing it their way, and they've got a plan in place. So we'll just sit back and watch and see how it works out for them.
Exactly. Going to be very interesting. Pro Stock Motorcycle, Andrew Hines. I said about Daryl Herron, same thing. Andrew Hines, we know he's the class leader in terms of wins, but he's, I don't know if he's mad or what is the deal, but definitely back with a vengeance here in 2019, winning everything, taking it out on his teammate Eddie Krawick and others. But I asked him, I was like, hey, are you worried about Eddie now that Eddie's got the new chassis and all that he's going to turn this thing around at some point? And he said, yeah, Eddie's going to be back with a vengeance at some point, but right now it's Andrew Hines' show and he is dominating.
Well, he obviously has got a chip on his shoulder after going the entire calendar year in 2018 and not winning. That took his name off the list of guys, consecutive seasons with a win that he was still building on. So, starting all over at one isn't any fun. The new chassis certainly seems to be working. I think it's interesting that, you look at the philosophy change. What was it, 3 years ago when the Vance and Hines team brought out their new chassis? They built two of them. They went and made a couple of test runs, I believe, up in Norwalk, and they showed up at Englishtown, didn't even have the old ones in the trailer. And 4 races later, it's like, we better get those old chassis out because these new ones ain't doing what we thought they would. So they learned from that. They went back. They made whatever changes they made, and they built one. And they brought the thing out, and they put Andrew on it. And they ran a couple of races and went, okay, this works. Now let's build another one. But I think that it was a real learning process for them going through the, our computer simulations and all of our CAD drawings and everything. So this is going to be the greatest thing ever. So let's just throw all our old technology away and build this new stuff. But what necessarily works on a computer and what necessarily works in the real world are not always the same thing. Had a interesting little discussion with Chris Cunningham, who was my Nitro School co-professor last week. And we got talking a little bit about, engineering and this and that, and brought up times when, guys with PhDs in mechanical engineering would come in, look over a drag race car. And I lived through it some in Pro Stock. He obviously has done it on the Nitro side, and tell you that, what you're doing will never work. And it's like, what we're doing works perfectly. Nope, there's no possible way that'll work, except, yes, here it is. I don't care what your numbers say. My race car is winning races. And there's just a difference in real world application versus theory, no matter how good the theory is.
Yeah, that is something. And we don't race them on the dyno, and there's so many statements and cliches that match that. In the end, you got to go to the racetrack, and you got to get the job done. Look at McLaren to tie it into the Indy 500 from this past weekend. They often talk about the industrial might of McLaren that has had such great success in Formula One and IndyCar over the years. They're going to do this project. They're going to come to the Indy 500. They're going to race their own team. It's going to be great. Alonso, the whole DNQ. See you later. And they did not make the field.
I really think a big part of that, though, was that they just assumed it was going to be simple. I don't think that they put the time or resources into it that they normally would on a McLaren project. I mean, I certainly don't know the details, and IndyCar is not a sport that I follow intimately. But I mean, is it true that 3 weeks before the race they didn't have a steering wheel?
Apparently it is.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You know, somebody overlooked that. And then one of the other things I read was when they went into final qualifying, they put the wrong gear set in the car. So, you know, I honestly think that McLaren went, oh yeah, we'll just, you know, we'll go win the Indy 500, but let's worry about, you know, the important stuff, the stuff that's hard. I think they just flat overlooked it and didn't put the time and resources and effort into it. And their performance showed the amount of commitment that they put into it going in. And that's just strictly my opinion.
Well, I know. I think it's right. And I think the story was, you know, some really strong journalism by Jenna Fryer. And this is something that is, you know, it's worth talking about on NHRA Nitro, because whatever it is, if you are at the highest level of it, it's not going to be easy. And they spent a couple of days in the paint booth changing the color of the car from, you know, regular orange to McLaren orange, and they just lost a lot of time. And they just were totally upside down in every aspect of it, and they found themselves not making the show, you know, wasting a couple of $1 million. Somebody got fired for this misadventure, which will ultimately be historic and an example of fail, you know, hashtag epic fail. And how not to do something.
There was a great drag racing illustration of this, however many years ago, when Darrell Gwynn's team didn't run the first half of the year. And then it might have been when they put together the Yankee deal, but they came out basically in the middle of the year, hadn't been to a race all season. And if I'm not mistaken, went to the final at Indy, won a couple of races going out, out the back. And one of the pretty high-powered crew chiefs said, you know, that just goes to show you that the real racing is done in the shop. You know, we just come out here to prove who did the preparation the best, but they had all the time in the shop. Everything was prepped. You know, they weren't busy with getting to the next race, getting the new parts, figuring out what this, and the preparation is just key. And if you don't put any effort into that, then it's certainly going to show up on your results when you get to the racetrack. And I think that's true whether you're bracket racing a 13-second car or whether you're racing a top fuel car. You know, if you haven't opened the hood in 6 months and you just go out to the racetrack and decide, okay, yeah, we're going to be fine, you're not. So you've got to put in your preparation. And as you said, you know, the closer you get to the top of the chain, whatever it is, the closer you get to the top of the chain, the more difficult it is.
That is a fact. It is a fact. Very interesting stuff. All right, let's turn our attention to the Route 66 Nationals. And this is a little story that you think, oh, wait, one more thing. Factory stock showdown in terms of what happened out there in Richmond. Pretty exciting stuff. You know, on the back of a rules change to back the cars up a little bit more. They did back them up a little bit more. We had Ned Walliser on the Factory Stock podcast that we're doing, and he explained why, and I think they achieved what they were looking for. It was very unfortunate that we heard a car, Randy Eakin's machine, you know, scattered one down there, got in the oil, and since then, now an update in terms of rules. They're going to give a little take weight away from the Dodges, so they're going to be a little lighter. But now engine diapers are going to be mandatory. But we saw the final round that Bo Butner and Drew Skillman had been wanting. The two Pro Stock guys, former sportsman racers, you know, a U.S. Nationals winner versus a Pro Stock champ in Factory Stock, got to battle each other final round. Drew wins it, and that was just great excitement in the final round. You know, got to talk a little Factory Stock. Drew Skillman now has won 2 out of 3 races. Skillman's have won all 3 races, and the next race will be in Kansas.
Yeah, and, you know, they're running really well right now. Bo Butner's running really well right now. You know, Bo has come out on the wrong end of a couple of just tremendous final rounds. You know, the trying to get the parity in the class, I think, is very interesting because, you know, you talk to as many different people as I do, and I really think everybody's convinced that somebody else has an unfair advantage thing is almost comical. I talked to a couple of the Dodge people, not the drivers, but people that work on the cars, that, you know, said, you know, well, sure. Well, if they'd let us do this and that and this, then, you know, everything would be fine. And, you know, the Ford guys and the Chevy guys are, hey, we did what we're supposed to do. We submitted this for approval. We got approved, and now we're racing it, and we did exactly what they told us to do. And, you know, if those guys didn't submit anything, then why is that my fault? And just the whole constant thing. But it's fun to have all 3 manufacturers involved, and you're always going to have a little bit of that controversy. So I think it's a good thing from top to bottom.
I don't understand how the Ford fans can be complaining, though. That's one thing where you lose me. I'm on the, I always tell you don't go on the message boards, but I know you do, and that's fine. I also say don't get on Facebook, and I do. And I look at Facebook comments, and I'm bewildered. Like, honestly, how can you be a fan of Ford and win all 3 races and really be dominating and still be complaining? Like, and that's what I say. I know they're fans, not the racers, the fans. Like, how can you possibly type that into a slot on your computer, like complaining, when you are also totally dominating?
Well, I think it's the same thing as, Matt Smith in the Pro Stock Motorcycle ranks said it not, he wasn't shy about it. Let's just put it that way. When he said, hey, this is my job. This is what I work at night and day. And if I've made gains and my hard work is paying off, now why am I being penalized for it? And I think that's what some of the fans are saying. It's like, hey, we did our homework. We went to work. We came up with a new combination. We're making more power. We made our cars faster. Now you're penalizing us for doing exactly what we're supposed to do. If you were running track and field and you've set the world record for a 100-meter dash, and they said, okay, strap on a 10-pound weight belt. But wait, I've been training, I've been working out, and that's what I think some of the fans are looking at is like, we are doing what we're supposed to do. We're working hard, we're refining our combination, we're finding power, we're making the cars more efficient, and now you're penalizing us for it. And I think that's what a lot of the complaints are. But it's good when people are passionately involved. And I don't care what side of the fence you're on. If you're passionately involved, then you're going to be watching. You're going to be paying attention to what happens, and that's good.
Yeah, that is definitely that is positive. But I would like, I like that debate. I don't like it on Facebook because it's impersonal and everybody takes it wrong. But it would be a fun debate to have with the diehard Ford people. It's like, why are you crying? You're winning, and you continue to win, and you're going to win the championship. But I get it. I understand. And we'll see next year. We'll see how things continue to play out. And this year is not over yet. We're not even halfway. Other winners from Virginia, I want to mention everybody. Joe Santangelo, awesome. Got real far in the rounds in a couple of categories. Won in Super Stock, but the Stocker was just awesome. Wallace Dent, a.k.a. Pi Dent, in Stock Eliminator. Chris Garrettson, Super Comp with the reverse throttle stop dragster. Tom Goldman, Super Gas. Chad Traylor, top dragster. Sidney Frigo in Pro Mod. And obviously Drew Skillman. How about Sidney in Pro Mod? That was pretty spectacular. And if for some reason Stevie Fast Jackson does not win the world championship in Pro Mod, there are going to be a couple of round wins that we focus on as like those points made a big difference.
Well, I think Steve would tell you that, he missed the tree in the final round and Sidney made him pay. That's going to happen. But if you're referring to the Gainesville thing, I mean, the guy's 30 on the tree and makes the quickest run ever and loses to a 00 third quickest run ever. If I'm Steve Jackson, give me that Gainesville run every time. And the number of times I win versus the number of times I lose, I'll live on those percentages. I said, I think he would tell you that he missed it a little bit in Virginia, but he's also come out on the right side of a couple of those. So, at the end of the year, unless you're 4 or 5 in the hole, then, I don't think that really plays much of a role. And if you lose the final, you've lost one round. If you lose the first round, well, then you potentially lost more than one round. And just like if you win the first round or if you win the second round on a hole shot and then you go on and keep winning rounds, I don't think Steve Jackson is ready to hang up his driving suit over this whole deal. He's fine.
Well, he is leading the points, 417 to 377 over Todd Tutterow, and the rest remains to be seen. I do feel like he has shown that he is the dominant driver of the season so far, but there have been a couple of moments, like you said, Sidney, made him pay in that situation. We'll see how it goes in the heat of the summer, and that's what makes it interesting. All right, now on to Chicago, where I am interested and intrigued by the entry lists. 21 Top Fuel dragsters entered, 19 funny cars, 19 pro stockers, 18 pro stock motorcycles. In the Lucas Oil series, it makes sense that there's going to be a lot of cars because of the Jegs All-Stars, etc. But the 21 Top Fuel dragsters, this has been an NHRA initiative for a while now. Like, we want to increase the amount of cars, 16 cars, 15 cars, 17 cars. That eliminates the race within a race, that is qualifying, that people love, to put pressure on everybody. 21 cars, there's pressure on everybody.
Yeah, and, geographics have something to do with it. There are a lot of cars in that part of the world that don't run a full schedule. TJ Zizzo, I think, is a perfect example. We see him 5 or 6 times a year, but I guarantee you he's going to qualify. The Greek will be there because it's hometown for him. Kyle Wurtzel out of Indiana will be there. So, there are a lot of cars that are based fairly close to that part of the country, and it's great to see them coming out. What I would love to see, and the problem is if this happens, it comes at the expense of one of the others. What I'd love to see is for a couple of those guys to have enough success to get them motivated to go to more races. If you come out 2 or 3 times a year and you either don't qualify or you end up 16th and you're just, first round cannon fodder, so to speak, then you don't have a whole lot of incentive to expand your schedule. But if you come out, you make the field, you go to the semifinals, all of a sudden it's like, okay, look, let's keep doing this. Let's try to get more involved, and that'll get us more cars to more races. Did you notice any particularly intriguing name on the Pro Stock entry list?
Let me see. I have the list in front of me. And the Pro Stock...
It's down towards the bottom, if that gives you a hint.
Okay. Richard Freeman?
Richard Freeman.
Yeah, and it says 2009 GXP, but I don't think that's right.
No, he has got a brand new Mustang, and they are shaking it down literally today. They were taking it to the racetrack today to make a couple of test runs, and they're going to take it up to Chicago and see what it'll do. They need to do a little testing and tuning. Obviously they've got their 2 house cars of Jeg and Erica, both battling in the points and both trying to do what they can do to not let Bo get any further away. They're not really in a good position to experiment, but Richard is. So if they take the Mustang out, and a lot of people have said that the new Mustang is maybe a tick more aerodynamic than the Camaro. And I think if it goes out and proves to be, then who knows? Maybe, I haven't seen the car. I don't know if it's red or yellow, but if it's red, then it wouldn't surprise me to see Erica in it maybe quite soon. This race is the beginning of 4 in a row for the Tour. So if you find a little something now, there's no reason to hide it away.
Very, very interesting. And a lot of pro stockers on the entry list. Here's something that I wonder what you think about it. I'm looking at the entry list, and I see that Jeff Arend is the driver of note for the Head Racing funny car. And that was a little surprising. I caught that one yesterday and, put a text into Johnny Lindbergh and, gotten nothing back at the moment. But, and of course,
he had to go home.
He had to go home.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He had some business at home that he had to tend to. For Jim, that's not too far from his Ohio shop, and it's a place that he's had a little bit of success. He wanted to go run the car. So he reached out to Jeff Arend, which is a perfect example, or a perfect guy to come fill in for a race. And my understanding is Johnny will be back in the car the next time that it shows up. But Johnny just had some business at home that he had to go tend to, and one of them things. So he'll be back. There's nothing else to read into that other than just the driver had something that he had to take care of.
Great to know. Great to know. Both for Jeff and for Johnny. Like, I'd love to see Jeff out there as often as possible, but I think Johnny, one of the great personalities. So that is great to know, and thank you very much for covering that story. All right, any other, final thoughts? Like Jegs All-Stars, this is the kind of thing, division versus division, races versus racers. I know there are a lot of sportsman racers that, I don't want to say they stay away from the Jegs All-Stars, but whoever wins it has done something special because the best of the best of the best are all in attendance.
No, it's going to be interesting. The one note that I think, I'm not sure that this is the pond that I would decide to jump into, but Bo Butner is going to be racing in Super Comp this weekend. He has driven dragsters from time to time, but he has never won. He has never won in Super Comp. And so with Factory Showdown not being there, him not having a second car to drive, he decided, you know what, why not? And I don't even know where he got the dragster. He borrowed one from somebody. But he's going to be up there trying to expand his resume. I'm not sure, because of the All-Stars, I'm not sure that that's the Shark Tank that I would go, okay, look, I want to win a Super Comp race. let's go to Chicago. But hey, why not? You know, if you want to do it, do it. If you go big or go home, right?
Exactly. Go big or go home. Yeah, Bo is trying to add to the list of categories, which I guess there is a little informal competition. Everybody trying to run down Jeg with his 7 different eliminators that has won a Wally in. And there's only one way to catch him, is to start running different eliminators.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I want to pass on, Joe, and you might want to look this up as well. I got a text message from Del Worsham last night that said, basically, dude, you're not going to believe what we're doing. One of his daughters, Kate, at school, they're having a contest about, you know, the best way to do simple things, you know, the best way to do this, the best way to do that. Not quite a Rube Goldberg thing, but she decided that her deal was going to be the best way to make chocolate milkshakes. Now, if you're Del Worsham's daughter, what do you think would be the best way to make chocolate milkshakes?
The Margarita.
You got it.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to, just circumstances and timing, they weren't able to take the Margarita to her school and do it. But they got all the ingredients, they made the milkshakes, and then froze them, took them to school. But there's a video up. I guess you could find it on YouTube, but if you just find Del Worsham on Twitter, he's got the thing posted, and that's at Del Worsham. But it's really pretty funny, and it shows Kate, you know, tracking down the ingredients, going through the stuff, and then firing up the Margarita and mixing milkshakes with it.
That is fantastic. Yeah, the Margarita is something that I had always heard of, but it was this past year when JR won the championship. It was dark. It was late. I was walking the pits. I knew it was definitely like nobody lighting a car. And then all of a sudden I hear a Nitro car fire up. I'm like, what is that? I go running. And next thing you know, there it is, the Margarita. And it was pretty spectacular. Great thing. Great thing. All right, Alan.
Yeah, the whole thing is the way they put it together, and everything about it is funny. But hey, what a great way to make milkshakes. It's a shame they couldn't take it to school and do it, because I can imagine the look on the teacher's face.
Yeah, exactly. You want to learn about STEM? We got STEM. We're going to make a milkshake with a Nitro engine. It is going to be great. Alan, great job as usual. Thank you so much. I will see you in a few days as we get ready for the Jegs All-Stars, where the Southeastern Division is loaded for bear, baby. They're ready to come, and they're ready to take this thing. Yeah.
You know, we everybody brags every year, and then it always ends up going home to Division I or Division IV. So this year I'm taking the low-profile approach. I'm not going to say anything until Sunday night, and then if we win, I'm going to be like, in your face, in your face, in your face, to anybody that's still there.
Yeah, speak softly, carry a big stick. It's good advice. All right, Alan, great job.
Travel safe. See you soon.
Thanks, Alan. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who joins us each week at the start of WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. I really appreciate that. I appreciate Alan's takes, because when you think about people who have been in and around NHRA drag racing for a long time, he has got one of the longest tenures, and he has got a great understanding of what's going on both in front and behind the scenes. So I really appreciate the Alan Reinhart segment each week. Hopefully you do too. And that's one of the reasons you will subscribe to WFO Radio. We've got Ron Capps. We have got Bo Butner. We have got Scott Palmer, all coming up on the show. I'm going to ask him a whole host of questions. But right now I want to tell you about Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. If you make big power, regardless of whether it's a nitro burning engine or a turbocharged Pro Mod, a Honda engine, any kind of boosted engine, a tractor engine, multiple tractor engines, you need copper head gaskets. We all know this. But where are you getting them, and are they the best possible quality? The folks at Hussey Performance are the best possible quality. Why? Well, they know where and how to purchase copper at the exact tightest possible tolerances. They've been doing it for over 40 years. Well, how tight is the tightest possible tolerance, you are asking, I'm sure. 0.005 of an inch. That's right. And they stock gaskets in increments of 1/1000 of an inch. And if they don't stock it, they can make it. Simple as that. David Allen is the guy, and you want to give him a call if you need copper head gaskets. First of all, let's just stop. Are you an engine builder? Are you building high-performance engines, and you're listening to this show, and you know that the Bartone brothers and Sean Bellamy are out there winning world championships with these Hussey Performance copper head gaskets, and you're not willing to try a pair, really? I think you should. I think maybe this is the time where you break away. I guess it's like when you go to the grocery store and they talk about these people, they've been using the same aftershave since they were like 13 years old because that's the first one that they tried. Maybe it's time to try something new. Hussey Performance quality copperhead gaskets. Call David Allen. It's all made in America, including the machines. 724-318-8292. Or go to husseyperformance.net. Once again, 724-318-8292. 724-318-8292, located in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. Once again, all made in America, and David personally inspects every single gasket that they ship. Proud to have him on board WFO Radio. You want to start building good engines? You want to start winning some races? Hussey Performance, quality copperhead gaskets. That is the place. When we come back, it's going to be Ron Capps after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, Joe here, and I hereby decree on behalf of the WFO universe, the winter is over, which means it's time to grill. Get yourself some Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, barbecue spice rub, hot sauce, and of course, incredible coffee. They've got the WFO radio blend, they've got the Bang the Blower, they've got the exotics. It's all roasted fresh per your order, representing the top 5% of coffee throughout the world. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give Marvin a call. 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back, everybody. Want to tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure. You don't need to be a genius to know that champion racers start out at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, because Frank is a champion racer, but he is over and above the best of the best because he's got the mental side down. So many racers have gone to Frank when they are in trouble. Like, I lost it. I don't know what to do. And he'll set their mind right. And you can get your top alcohol license. You can get pretty much any license with Frank Hawley. They got a great program. But that's not what I'm telling you about. What I'm telling you about is the Dragster Adventure, because Frank understands that there's so many people that want the thrill of driving a dragster but have no idea how to do it, don't have the money to go buy a dragster, don't have the safety equipment to do it, don't have the time to do it. And so he created a program called the Dragster Adventure that makes it easy. Go to frankhawley.com or dial 866-480-7223. We've been talking about the Dragster Adventure for a long time on WFO Radio because, frankly, I think it is one of the coolest things that you can do in all of drag racing. Drive the Dragster Adventure. You get 3 runs down the track, 1 half-track pass, 2 full-track passes. That's 3 burnouts. That's 3 reaction times. That you get to go to the shutdown area 3 times. You're in a rear-engine dragster. It's unbelievable. Plus, you really don't have to go very far, considering that they travel with the program around the country. They're going to Baytown. They're going to Woodburn. They're going to Norwalk. They're going to Reading, Pennsylvania. They're going to Fontana, California. You need to go to frankhawley.com to find out more. And, of course, you got to tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. 866-480-7223. If you're outside the United States, 678-804-8835. Regardless, it's a great program. You're going to have so much fun. It's 2019. Do something for yourself. Step outside the box. Do something that you'll remember, literally, for the rest of your life. frankhawley.com. It's called The Dragster Adventure. And tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. All right, let's keep on rolling. We did not catch up with him after his back-to-back win out there at the Virginia Nationals. We're going to catch up with him now. So let's do it. Joining us now, yes, it is 1 week delayed, but we're definitely going to speak with the winners from the NHRA Virginia Nationals, especially when they are back-to-back winners in Funny Car. Joining us now, Ron, middle name Extreme Caps. Ron, welcome back. How are you?
Middle name. I don't know if you want to have a middle name Extreme driving a Funny Car, but yeah, I'll take it.
I'm scanning your Twitter feed and pinned tweet. You're with an engineer from Pennzoil, and you said that your middle name is Extreme. I don't know. I kind of like it.
I see where you got that. Yeah. Shanna, believe it or not, she really is an engineer, and like I said, that really is a lab coat she had. And when you go back and look at that whole thing, I wanted to write in there. I needed a cue card just for my little lines. She did everything she talked about, if you go back and watch it, without any cue cards, like rattled all that stuff off about all the cool terms with oil, and it was impressive.
Yeah, well, it's a pinned tweet on Ron's Twitter page, and you can see. And she's wearing a lab coat, and she's not an actress, and that is pretty cool. But I like the fact that your middle name is Extreme. There you go. So following up the Memorial Day weekend, so that everybody understands, and I'll probably mention several times throughout the show, it's just that went from Richmond to Tennessee, got back for Memorial Day weekend. We did not have a winter show, so we just kind of pushed it to this week. The good news is we got a whole lot of racing that we all enjoyed this past weekend in other series, IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, and now NHRA is back in action this weekend in Chicago. So a whole lot to roll together. You were pretty busy this past weekend for the Memorial Day weekend. You went to something called, what is it, Freedom Week? You were on the USS Midway, the aircraft carrier. Yeah. That's cool.
Freedom Fest, yeah. The band Daughtry, Chris Daughtry played. A friend of ours' wife had a birthday, a 50th birthday, so a few of us went down there, and I got us all backstage to meet Chris Daughtry and get pictures taken, which was cool. And then the Midway, which ironically my brother served, my brother John, that you've seen in Funny Cars once in a while, he actually served on the Midway out of high school. He joined the Navy, and he decommissioned that ship, which is located here in San Diego, and pretty neat museum piece that you can actually go down on, but and go underneath and on top and check everything out. But yeah, it was a pretty small, intimate concert that was for a great cause, and right at sunset in downtown San Diego.
Yeah, tremendous stuff. And, of course, this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, there are a couple of holidays, obviously. 4th of July, great. Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the people who make it possible. But Memorial Day is the one that gets me. And, again, everybody knows when I have somebody on the show, I scan the feed, right? You had some really just, like, tough stuff for Memorial Day. It really drives it home that as much as we all get to do fun things, like why? Why do we get to do these fun things, Ron? And it's because there are people who are sacrificing and giving everything so that we can do these fun things. And very connected. And I liked what I saw. That is great stuff. And onward now to Chicago.
Yeah, those pictures, they touched me pretty hard, so I put them up. And we get to do something pretty cool. Looking forward here just a few weeks to the Epping, New Hampshire race. Speaking of, I guess I'm going to break the news on your show that the fans spoke, first of all, and we get to run the Napa Brakes car once again in Chicago this weekend. I don't think it's been announced yet.
All right.
But, well, actually might be here as we're talking. But, I put that out there for our fans to choose last week, and I couldn't believe the amount of comments that people came on, but it was overwhelming. And so Napa Auto Parts saw that, and they said, run it again. it was just the month of May. We were originally going to run it only in Napa at the Napa headquarters race in Atlanta. We won, and they said, I asked, can we run it again? So they let us run it in Richmond. We won again, and that was going to be it for that special Napa Brakes car. And so now the NHRA fans have spoken, and they're going to let us run it in Chicago, which is awesome. So, but looking forward to Epping, we do something with Intrepid Fallen Heroes, and every year we do a special car, either Epping or Norwalk, the month of July, and I can't put anything out yet, but the fans are going to love that special car. I mean, let me tell you, it's going to be cool. But anyway, speaking of Memorial Day, we do something. We raise over $1 million with Intrepid Fallen Heroes, and we get to do a special car in July. So looking forward to that. So, to get off of Memorial Day and have it was just such a great weekend for us NHRA people that we don't race that weekend, which is great. And we get to watch the other racing and stay home and relax.
So funny you say that, okay, because I'm sure some people are thinking, like, wait, what did he say? It's great that we don't race, and let me just hammer that one home. Yes, it's great that we don't race, because that weekend is already blocked up with enough racing, period. There's no way to shoehorn anything else in there, and it, I think, is a very wise and smart move that the NHRA just says, you know what? That weekend is full of racing. Everybody take a break and come back the following weekend. I think it's wisdom. Maybe some people want to see us race 52 weekends a year, but I think it is smart to not be on the same weekend that you've got the Grand Prix of Monaco at 9 in the morning, the Indy 500 at 12 noon, and the Coke 600 later on in the afternoon. My opinion.
Yeah, and I thank Glenn Cromwell and all the NHRA people because, as you know, we were in Topeka racing Memorial Day a few times here and there, and man, oh man, it was not good. I mean, not good for a lot of reasons. We didn't need to be on a busy day like that, and our fans, obviously they pick and choose what they want to do on a weekend. It's Memorial Day, and we just it wasn't good. The TV package wasn't good because you're up against such a great day of motor racing. So yeah, anyway, I thanked all the NHRA people for not putting that race back on Memorial Day.
People have their routine. It's a family holiday. It's a solemn holiday. There's only so much, and it is wisdom to not be on there. And at the same time, we get to enjoy it with the rest of America. Now, I want to double back on something you said about the Napa Brakes car. That is a big deal, and in the immortal words of Crash Davis from the Durham Bulls, respect the streak. You've got a little streak going on with this body. There is no way that they're going to tell you to put it away, right? You got to run this thing regardless, and Chicago is the next race. Now, who knows why anything happens, period, right? The cosmic forces, whatever. But there's something up, right? This body is undefeated.
Yeah, we're not going to argue with it, that's for sure. And it, I've been telling our fans, especially the fans that follow me specifically, just hang in there. We were going to get our Napa mojo back. And it's all about Ron Tobler and just getting comfortable. I think I told you this before, that the struggle that we had a little bit, and I say struggle, we still ran okay, and we did okay at the beginning of the season. But those are those moments that I, as a driver or any NHRA driver, you've got to be at your very best when your team is struggling a little bit, struggling to find the clutch disc setup, struggling to find the tune-up, whatever it is. That's when you have to be your absolute best. You would think, and fans listening, that you've got to be your best when your car's running good and you're in the final round. That's not when you have to be. Yes, you have to be good, but you got to be your best so that crew chief, when he's a little bit lost and he's trying to find his happy place with the tune-up, he can take the driver out of the equation. And that's the proudest moments for me, is when I get those compliments from my crew chief that they don't have to worry about me as a driver. Race day, qualifying, doesn't matter. They know that they can take me out of the equation and they can focus on getting the car better. So I knew it was coming. It just happened to happen in Atlanta with a special body, and then we went and did it again in Richmond. So we'll take that black and gold Napa Brakes mojo. We'll run with it. They don't hardly ever, especially in other race cars and other series, ever allow my teammates at Napa to run a car more than what it's allowed to do or normally, supposed to do with paint schemes. So it was a huge compliment. And like I just said, it hasn't been announced yet, but for them to hear what our fans and follow on the social media what the fans said about this body and wanting to see it again in Chicago was, I can't even tell you how big that is. So, yeah, we're not going to argue with it. We'll just go run it.
There you go. And one of your Napa teammates, by the way, was in the mix for the win of the Indy 500, got bested, and spectacular final 15 laps, swapping the lead, and, came up a little bit short because it's just very difficult, very challenging. But it's been a good month for Napa. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just, the hashtag all we do is win has been never better. Even though Rossi lost that race, he gained so many new fans all over the world as just an American badass. I mean, he was passing people on the inside wall, raising his arm up at 220-something miles an hour at people in his way.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
And just disgusted with second place, which is what I love. And he's a great guy. The more you get to know him and fans that follow him, he's very quiet, very shy. And he's opened up the last couple of years here quite a bit, and I enjoy being around him, and I love the way he approaches racing. We had him on the starting line at Indy race day last year, and he had never been to a drag race, and so he still talks about it every time we're together. He's just blown away by it. So, I was very proud of our Napa guys and Chase Elliott on Sunday night.
And allow me to apologize. I am all over the place today, probably because I took last week off, but just overload and things that I want to ask you about. We were talking about the switch of cars, and I remember in Charlotte when Ron Tobler decided, like, hey, we got to make a move. Like, something's up. We don't know what it is. And there was the throwback to the last time that you guys DNQ'd in your championship year at Vegas, and he had said flat out, like, we knew something was up, but we didn't know what it was, and we waited too long, and we didn't qualify. And then we went and switched cars and figured out what was up and then went on to win the championship. In this learning example, he pulled the trigger on time and got qualified, and you didn't go on to win that race, but we're ahead of it, whatever it is, and put that car back in the trailer. Do we ever know what it was, like, with that car that was tripping things up, or just one of those life cycle kind of things with a chassis? Because whatever this is, it seems to be working well. Or maybe it has to do with the weather conditions. Things have gotten hot. Things have gotten trickier. People are tripping up. It's been extremely challenging. What are some of the other elements that were related to that story, which I think people maybe have forgotten? But you guys were having a tough race and made a big, bold move that has obviously turned out to be a great move.
Yeah, we go a certain amount of runs, and then, we have two cars, and we keep, obviously, a spare car like everybody else does in the pit area. We have a spare car, but we have our spare is completely ready to go, and we've needed that a couple times here in the last 5 or 6 years. And that was never more apparent than Q3 deciding, hey, we have an hour and a half, we're not qualified, we need to change something. That car that we were running was going to get front halved anyway right after that Charlotte race. It was up there in runs, but it's been fine, and we didn't think much was wrong with it. And I noticed, and one of my crew guys did first, and then I noticed the car was pulling hard to the right for some weird reason. And my guys go through it every race. They go through everything, and they scale it. And that was an alarm for Tobler as well. He listens to me, even the smallest little things that I tell him, whether they're right or wrong. He goes a lot by what I say, and I said, man, something feels weird, a lot different. Long story short, we did get qualified with the other car, brought it out, had it ready in less than an hour, went up there and got qualified, even though we lost first round the next day at the 4-wide. And then that car went back to shop. They didn't notice anything flagrant that stood out. They just went ahead and chopped the front off and front halved it like we normally do. And with 7 teams in our shop and other cars that get front halved by DSR, we have to get on a schedule, and we've got to do it way ahead of time. So Tobler kind of plans out way ahead of time so that we know when we can get in the shop between races and get a new front half done. So anyway, it's just we're not even sure looking back whether something was wrong with that car, but he made the changes, went up there, and it is what it is. And we ran that other car in Pomona and Phoenix, so it wasn't like something we never ran before. But it had seen the racetrack a couple races this year, and we just knew that it was going to be fine, and you just can't take a chance at that point.
All right, let's get into eliminations out there in Richmond because it was scorching hot. I think it was the hottest race of the year. Certainly felt like the hottest race of the year, but it will not be the hottest race of the year in a couple of weeks because it's going to get hotter and hotter and more challenging. You qualified third. First round, you had to go up against Jim Campbell and uncorked low ET of race day, which is very impressive. The only 3-second run of the first round or of race day, which is impressive to be able to do that. On the other side of the ladder, though, Robert Hight does as well. Robert, who was sixth, setting up a huge matchup that hopefully every single fan, whether they like Ron Capps or hate Ron Capps or like Robert Hight or don't care, like maybe they love John Force and Jack Beckman, but realize like that's a big deal. Jimmy Prock, Ron Tobler, you, Robert, all kinds of mutual respect, and you're rolling to the starting line and there's all this extra, like, you know, going at it, and you're loaded for bear, and the light flashes, and then we are treated to a once in a while kind of race where both cars are instant up in smoke.
Yeah, it's always a huge matchup, and it's, you know, immense respect for Robert. I never have to worry about any games being played. He doesn't have to worry about games being played. Him and I have the two best seats in the house every time we race, and we just let our cars do the talking. And listen, that second round, NHRA decided to scrape the track. It had some rubber buildup, and it caught a lot of the crew chiefs, funny cars and dragsters, with their pants down, sort of, because that track is so good and had been so good that nobody expected it to be like that. And we'd already been up in the staging lanes when they decided to scrape it. So it's not like you can make a huge change for a lot of these cars. Some of them in the back of the pack, after seeing what we did go back and make huge changes. But there we are, John Force right in front of us, blew the tires off right at the hit. And we went, uh-oh. And we had lane choice over Robert. We stayed in that right lane. Well, lo and behold, Robert and I both hit the gas and right up in smoke. And then in between me trying to wait for the tires to stop spinning to give it another hit, I hear Robert's off the gas next to me. And I thought, oh, here we go. This is a pedal fest. And then you're just doing whatever you can to try to get it down there. And I ended up just kind of giving it quarter throttle and just kind of drove it like a tractor a little ways. And once it hooked up, I just kind of eased into the throttle. And there's not a lot of tune-ups you can do that with. Ron Tobler tune-up, I'm very blessed to be able to do things like that to it. And I always drive it like, you know, I want to bring it all back in one piece. But when you're racing Robert Hight and Prock, when you think you want to wait for the tires to stop spinning, it seems like an eternity. So it was just one of those fun races. It's a little funner with the wind light on for us. But even Robert came over afterwards, and, you know, he was smiling, and we were laughing about that race because you don't get to do that very often. And, you know, we just didn't expect that racetrack to be like that round. So, you know, the guys in the back, I know Langdon and J.R. Todd made huge changes from their crew chiefs, and they went down the track, but they had a little bit of time to do that.
I don't necessarily want every race to be like that, but every once in a while, it's a throwback. It's a throwback to the tire smoking days of the 1960s. 6:17.3 at 251 beats a 6:20, so 300ths apart. That could be 403 to 400, 300ths apart at 270. So you had 20 miles an hour on you. And if you had to write down, if I said, Ron, please do your best to write down or type your whole thought process from hit to parachute, how many pages would it be? Guess, you know, your best guess. Like, you know.
Oh, it'd be a couple pages easily. It just seems like as your brain unloads afterwards, you remember every little speck a second of what your brain's going through. And if I had a radio that I didn't have to press a button on the wheel to talk to, if I had a live radio, you'd probably laugh because I was in there talking to myself going, oh boy, here we go. All right, hold on. You know, I'm talking to myself like that, trying to get this thing to get hooked up and going. And you have more horsepower at your right toe than any other car on the planet, if you can imagine. So you're trying to drive this thing like it's on ice, like it's got an egg under the throttle. So I think all the dirt racing, the fuel alters, all that stuff, I really feel like that helps me in situations like that. And we were just lucky enough to get it. And I crossed the John Force rule they came up with. You know, they blamed it on John coming up with this rule, but it was, you know, it's one of those things where you cross the finish line between the 1,000-foot and a quarter mile. If you cross over the center line in between there, even though you get a wind light, you are now docked 5 points, and second offense is 10 points. Well, Force did it in qualifying. He got docked 10 points. Unfortunately, I did it, and Robert came flying by me, so I was worried about being in his lane, but I was just trying to get the win light. And, I found out afterwards I did cross over, and we lost 5 points. So, hopefully it doesn't affect us down the road, but when you're trying to win a race, you'll do anything.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that rule as it continues to evolve. I actually like it. The only challenge is keeping track of it. Like who has how many points, what stage, how far in? Is that a 15? Is that a 5? Is that a 10? But fortunately we got people for that to figure it out. Now you're going on to the seventh.
Hopefully they don't continue that in the countdown. That's going to be interesting because that's going to cost somebody a championship
someday.
Fortunately or unfortunately.
Final round, Pomona. This is it. It's a race like what you just described. The winner takes it, and then, he won the race. Excuse me. He won the race, but he crossed after the finish line, and so he got the points, but then he lost the points, and so he's not the champ. That is the nightmare scenario that could occur. Let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah, let's hope.
Right. Semifinal, Johnny Lindbergh over there on the other side against J.R. Todd. Jim Head having a great day. And Tommy Johnson and you. So it's John Collins, Ron Tobler, you and Tommy. Again, total mutual respect. I really feel like the fans, they know, but do they know the level and depth of friendship and camaraderie and, teacher and student and all of that stuff that happens when those two get together, John and Ron?
Yeah, I've joked about it, Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid, because it's Ron Tobler's former assistant crew chief who he, trained to be a crew chief all those years. And then, he was kicked out of the nest. When that team came about, Don Schumacher came to Tobler and said, who would you think would be a good car or a good crew chief to tune that Make-A-Wish car? And he was very unselfish, Ron Tobler was, in saying, I think John Collins is ready, even though we were losing a very valuable assistant crew chief at that point. It was tough, but he's been great there. And we've had to battle that car of John Collins and TJ every year for a championship. They are as good as anybody in the countdown. And John Collins is very, very, very consistent, very Tobler-like. So that's always a big matchup. And trust me, we love to beat the Force cars, Coletico, anybody else out there. But I bet any of my teammates would say the same thing. You get a little more satisfaction beating your teammates because we're around each other all the time. There's a little bit of extra ribbing from the crew guys. It's just a little bit more motivation to try to be the best DSR car, and all that does is elevate everybody at DSR. But that's a huge matchup for me every time I race TJ in that car.
And you were able to get around 421.2, and at that point the track was, I don't want to say it was gone, that's not fair, but unpredictable I think would be very fair. They went up in smoke. Other side of the ladder, J.R. Todd with a 404. Todd Smith, Jono have been one of the best, if not the best, in the heat, right? Like when it's cool, maybe not. But when it's hot, that's where they made a lot of hay last year. So you're set up to run those guys. Final round, you're 038, Ron. And JR's 071, but instant smoke kind of blew him off. Had a problem. I think a parts malfunction is what caused it. But you're 409.7 at 310. You win the race. That's back-to-back wins. Really helping you out in the point standings as well. And you elevate yourself all the way up to third, but really just, 8 points out of second. Robert Hight leading the way. So the past few races have really rocketed you. I think you were 10th at some point, and now just like that, you are third.
Yeah, everything's pretty tight, and it's still very tight. But listen, there's no denying that Robert Hight's car and Proc has been the funny car of the season, and J.R. Todd's is right there with them. And so the track obviously was over 140 degrees track temperature, from midday on, and it got a little tricky. And that final round, you can't take that team very lightly. And of course, I was trying to not let them have that mosh pit at the starting line. I saw their employees and all the other team members up there, and I thought, man, we got to keep this from happening. So Ron Tobler did a great job of putting it in fact, it's what he said. He was going to put it back like first round when it went 399 and just kind of tickle it a little early and soften it up. and it's exactly what happened. And we didn't have lane choice, but just another great win. And, obviously Chicago coming up is going to be cool temperatures looking at the weather. And although we do well in the heat, I'm excited because you look back at Houston, Q4, we went number 2 qualifier with a great 380 run. And I don't feel like that we no longer are a team that can contend in cool conditions. So I'm pretty pumped to see what we can do this weekend, too.
Speaking of this weekend, something unusual, maybe not unusual, I don't know. I want your opinion. Entry list, Top Fuel, 21 cars. Funny Car, 19 cars. Pro Stock, 19 cars. The car counts in Chicago, it makes perfect sense. It's right in the middle of the country, of course. Everybody can get there. But that's cool. The race within a race that is qualifying that we don't really have when there's 16 cars or 17 cars. You got to beat one guy. All of a sudden, there are going to be several cars going home if you fail to qualify. And so that makes, Q1 very, very important. You want to lay down a pass. It changes the dynamic, kind of the way it was back in the old days when you had 22 cars showing up, where you got to be on your game in qualifying or risk missing the show.
Yeah, and with a chance, I say a chance of rain on one of those runs, it does. It tightens everything up because you can have the best car in the world, and you could be as confident and on a roll like we are right now. But you go into a race like that where it's possible you only get a couple runs of qualifying, and anybody can have an issue that pops up. We've seen that. We had it in Charlotte. And the next thing you know, you've got a team that's a part-time team that goes right down the track, and one of these high-sponsored cars, a couple issues, and all of a sudden they're not in the show. And especially a track like Chicago, it's as good as it gets, too. And when you get cool conditions, that track will hold anything. So you put all that together, we're going to see, much like we saw the Indy 500, we're going to see some bump going on, some bumping in all those categories, and there's going to be some really big names that don't make it for Sunday. So you're right. Q1 is so important to get down the track. Yeah, you'd want to be the quickest, but you just want to get down and get qualified. And then Friday night, obviously Friday Night Nitro, live on TV, you want to take your shot and try to go for the pole and get qualified to where you want to be set up for Sunday. So it does change the methodical process of these crew chiefs and the drivers and everybody in the way we go about our qualifying when you have situations like that.
There you go. Now, have you picked your song for the Friday Night Nitro primetime? If we're doing this thing under the lights, and it appears that we are, you've been kind of moving around with the songs. People have been enjoying it. Some are not enjoying it, but we're trying to bring them along. Hannah
from NHRA, she'll text. She actually let me change it. I had Metallica was my first one, and I went that for a while, and then her and I talked, and I said, hey, I'd love to change it to Pennywise, good friends of mine, and that was a song for a while, especially at the end of the year when we're in California. But I decided to, in Charlotte, to change it up and go with a little, and surprise Tobler was what the whole thing was, and I went with California Love with Tupac. And anybody that knows Tobler or heard the stories, he's a classic West Coast hip-hop guy, believe it or not. And so I'll never forget Charlotte. We were getting ready to run, and that song came on, and all of a sudden he just looked at me with that grin, and it was pretty neat to see how excited he was to hear something that he loves. So I've left it alone with California Love for now. I may surprise him again, but it's been kind of fun, and I think the fans really love it. Kind of gets a little bit of a window into some of the drivers and what their favorite music is.
Well, I like the fact that it's not just all about the driver. Like, we know where your head's at, and you're kind of a little hardcore kind of guy. But it's more about the team and your leadership with Tobler, who grew up in Inglewood, California, and is hardcore West Coast hip hop guy, which you wouldn't expect, but it is a fact. And he knows the stuff, and he loves it, and it gets him up. And that is kind of cool. What I'm hoping, though, is eventually, Ron, you're able to negotiate like a stage, and you can get Metallica out there like to play something live for you. You know what I mean? Like a little live 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. When we won the championship in 2016, I actually got a hold of Snoop Dogg and his guys, and I was working on getting Snoop to the track on that day of qualifying. We ended up clinching the championship. It didn't happen, unfortunately, but it was real close because he lives nearby, and we had it all set up with security to get him in, and that would have been epic to clinch championship and have Snoop in our pit area. But I didn't tell Tolber I was going to surprise him then as well. But you know, so maybe someday we'll get somebody. It's always fun to have those people out that come out for the first time, especially music people. I love that because it's the same fans. Metallica fans love NHRA and vice versa. So, yeah, you never know.
You never know. And I will happily, as much as I love doing the intros, I will happily give the microphone to Snoop Dogg if that were to arise. No worries. Ron, great job as usual. Thank you very much. Congratulations on yet another victory. You're piling up the wins. It is very impressive. We had a great stat, like the second winningest fourth winningest Nitro drive. It's just crazy stuff what is happening. But it doesn't even matter right now because you're continuing to rack them up. And that's what it's all about here, past a third of the way through the season and a lot more to go. I'll see you in Chicago this weekend. Good luck.
Hey, and thanks, Joe. I want to tell everybody for the ride to the airport Sunday night, after the celebration, after everybody went home, after the trophies were put away, I was leaving to the airport, didn't have a ride, and Joe, you gave me a ride 40 minutes each direction to the airport, and I was very thankful for that. I barely got there to eat dinner and had about 2 hours sleep for my flight the next morning, but I really appreciate the ride.
They say in Miami, de nada. No big deal, Ron. It's the least I could do. And I would, in the same situation, I would be hoping someone would do that for me as well. So it's just the right thing to do. And we had a fun time with that six-cylinder Camaro convertible.
Well, and the conversation was great. And I just started watching Chernobyl thanks to your recommendations. And we enjoyed it.
Wait. Hit the brakes.
Fun conversation.
Pump the brakes. Game of Thrones. Are you up to speed?
Yep.
You watched it all. You're done.
We just watched the documentary. All up to speed. So thank you for not spoiling it.
No, I had to hold back, but now we got to go 2 minutes into this. I'll ask Torrance the same thing. Are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you unhappy? A lot of people that I know are unhappy with the way it all turned out.
No, I'm fine with it. These people complaining about wanting to replay the show, I think it. Listen, Sopranos ended in a way that could have been controversial. I mean, all these great shows, Breaking Bad, they got to end it somehow, and just that's it. It was a great show, a great run, and I'm happy with it.
Okay, there you go. I'm happy with it too. Like, okay, great show. Hard to end these shows. That's really the challenge. It's like, how do you do it? But after really reflecting on it, I felt like they did her wrong. Daenerys, I felt like they did her wrong. Like, she's going to kill a whole city full of people after fighting this army of the dead, after, who would advise her to do that? None of these people she loved over the years, the dude, what's his name, Jorah, and all these people, they were teaching her whole life to be cool, right? Not be a vicious, horrific murderer. And then all of a sudden, she becomes a horrific, vicious murderer. So I can understand fans of her being a little annoyed that the story took a big hard right turn. That having been said, I still enjoyed the whole series. It was good.
Yeah, me too.
There you go. All right, Ron, see you in Chicago. Thank you so much.
All right, Dan. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Ron. Ron Capps with us here on WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro, and that's a very interesting team. Obviously, Ron Tobler is a very interesting character. Inglewood, California, loves the hip-hop and the musical choices and all that. That's part of Ron's persona. Great stuff. And, I gave him a ride to the airport, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. I have a personal story, which I'll share at some other point, but once upon a time, I needed a ride, and I got a ride, and I appreciated it. And then there was another time where I needed a ride, and I didn't get a ride, and I was bummed out about it. And so when I can deliver a friend or colleague to wherever they need to go, it's the right thing to do, and it makes me feel good doing it. So absolutely. Ron also watching of Game of Thrones. It's over, folks. It's over. All you haters of Game of Thrones and the concept of Game of Thrones, you don't have to worry because it's over. It's over. And there you have it. So thanks to Ron for coming on the show. We got Bo Butner next. But right now, this is going to be an interesting challenge for me. I have been looking forward to this all day for this show, which is this. You've been listening to WFO Radio for a long time, maybe 10 years, maybe longer, since the WFO Radio history goes way, way back. But for several of those 10 years, Marvin Rodak and Rodak's Coffee and Grills has been a sponsor. And if you are a person who has never tried RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Even though you listen to the show every single week and you're like, I love this show and it's great, it's free, but I am not getting a Rodax Coffee and Grills anything because, I don't want to. I'm talking to you now. I'm going for you. All of the people who have tried RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, you're probably thinking, hey, Memorial Day is in the rearview mirror. It's grilling season. We can get some grills. This past weekend, I did a fair amount of grilling. And everything that I used and utilized to make my meals fantastic came from RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Here's the number, 817-924-6821. If you're listening on a podcast catcher or whatever, you can pause and rewind on the WFO radio app. Go back and get that number. It's super easy, 817-924-6821. But look, the hot sauces and spice rubs alone, let's forget the coffee for a minute. The hot sauces and spice rubs, the A26 spice rub that is award-winning in Texas barbecue competitions. A26 spice rub. It's made out of coffee, ground coffee with seasoned salt. It's amazing. The Rodax barbecue rub, the Rodax Peruvian rub, the Korean barbecue rub. There's just so many fantastic rubs that Marvin Rodak puts out there. He's rubbing it, baby. You want to get it. You want to get it. 817-924-6821. The hot sauces, the smoke and hickory heat, the habanero endorphin booster, the tonsil tickler. RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, 817-924-6821. Marvin Rodak is cooking up amazing things. He's got tips and recipes and tools and grills, Fire Magic and Primo and all the high-end stuff and amazing stuff. If you've been listening to this show for a long, long time, and you've never tried Marvin Rodak's CoffeeandGrills.com, this should be the week. Call him up, order it up, get it on the way. I am out of coffee, by the way. This is a revelation I just figured out this morning after a big weekend of coffee drinking. I am totally out of coffee. Marvin, I'm out, baby. What do I do? And I'm going to call Marvin myself. 817-924-6821. Get the coffee, get the hot sauces, get the grills, get on it, and enjoy. The grilling season is upon you. You will use the spice rub by the end of the grilling season, and you will be better for it, and you will have enjoyed. What do you put it on? What do I put it on, Joe? Well, you can put it on beef. You can put it on pork. You can put it on chicken. You can put it on whatever you happen to be grilling, and the people who are enjoying the food that you make are going to think you're better of it. Not to mention, there's all kinds of tips and tools and ways to improve your grilling. You think you're great, but you're probably not that great. Everybody thinks, I'm the greatest grill meister in the world. Yeah. Probably not as great as you think. That's all. That's all I'm saying. 817, that's what you want. You want brutal honesty from Joe, right? Joe's giving you brutal honesty. It's something we could all learn in our lives. We're probably not as great as we think. That's why you got to surround yourself with people that are better and smarter. And Marvin Rodak is one of those people. RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. 817-924-6821. Why are you yelling at us, Joe? No, man, I'm just having fun. 817-924-6821. It's RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Hey, Marvin, I'm going to be calling you. Be ready. Bo Butner coming up after this.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series, sportsman racers in the Racing RV's Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com, order it today. All natural product, made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out WilsonManifolds.com, the leader in intake manifold and nitrous oxide development. They've set records and won championships in just about every series in professional racing. Sprint Cup, Nationwide, Camping World Truck Series, NHRA Pro Stock, right up to the Nitro classes. If you're looking for extra horsepower, check out the leader in intake and nitrous development at WilsonManifolds.com.
Hey, what's up, WFO Universe? It's Kathy Fisher. Join me along with Joe Castello every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro is now on Spotify. All you podcast users who use Spotify, WFO Radio is now on Spotify. So if you use Spotify, you can go to Spotify and find WFO Radio, because WFO Radio is now on Spotify. You guys got that? Good. Good. Bo Butner is next, but right now I want to tell you about samtech.edu. Start your education with full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and, of course, at the track. In addition to blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associate Applied Science degree. SAM's a military-friendly school that's approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today. And one of the coolest things we got going is the samtech.edu Factory Stock Podcast. Drew Skillman going to be on. We're going to lift some of this audio from Drew Skillman's going to be on there. It's going to be great stuff. Download it. Check it out. Also on Spotify, Factory Stock Podcast. Love the folks at samtech.edu. And let me just drop in a final note. For all you kids out there, all you young people out there, please do not go into a career that you hate. Don't do it. It's bad, okay? Find something that you love, and that way when you're getting up every single day and it's 5 a.m. and you're getting out there to go and work, you're doing it because you love it, not because you hate it and you have to do something. That's the best advice I can give you. And maybe it's become a high-performance engine builder or CNC machinist or machinist in general. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's not. But you got to try to do something you love, man, because life is long, and life is hard, and life is challenging. And you got your friends and your family. But really, when you're going to work and you're doing it for your family and your kids and you're trying to earn a paycheck, it's just so much better when you're doing it because you love it, in addition to the fact that you make a fair amount of money. All right, let's get moving. Let's keep moving. Joining us now, Pro Stock winner out there at the NHRA Virginia Nationals, has won 4 of 5 races here in 2019. Bo Butner is back. What up, Bo? How you doing?
Well, Joe, doing great, and just blessed again to be talking to you.
Well, you are. I mean, you know, I'm a great guy, and you should be lucky. No, I'm kidding. You keep winning these races. You keep winning these races. Of course, you get to be on.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know what's causing it, other than we're fairly consistent. We show up. We've got a great team. My team, the KB team, the Summit team. I mean, all of us, we jive well together, and it's just, so far, it's just been our time when we show up.
Yeah, well, but here's what I want to know, as best as you can answer. I want to talk about the round by round, obviously, final round against Greg. Also, I want to delve into factory stock. I understand you're doing something cool this weekend. First of all, yeah, answer me that. Yes or no? Are you running Super Comp this weekend at the Jegs All-Stars weekend?
That is definitely not a rumor. It's for real. And I have ran Super Comp like twice in my life at some points meets or something. Randy Lynn and I used to have a dragster for a little while, but not really ever raced competitively like that. And a friend of mine, and also he works here with us, named Tyler Bohannon. He's a good racer, races everything. And between Randy Lynn and himself, they kind of entered me. So I've only had just the Pro Stock car here this weekend, so I said, sure, why not?
That's awesome. And so you'll be in Tyler's dragster?
I'll be in Tyler Bohannon's dragster. It's owned by him and his parents, and great people. They his father sold me my first legitimate race car way back. So
wow.
they're one of the reasons why I even got into drag racing. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool. That is great. Now, what's funny though, and Alan Reinhart and I were talking about it. It's this is one of the toughest races on the planet when it comes to sportsman racing. Everybody that's great is here. It's just funny that this is the one that you decide, hey, let's run Super Comp. Why not?
Well, I'm pretty sure Super Comp, Gas, and even Super Street. Now, I have ran one Super Street race, actually in Columbus at a JX Nationals, and actually won that. So the one kind of a one-shot deal. So, but all of those classes are so tough. I mean, it's a coin flip. It's kind of like Pro Stock, but the actual driving part of it, I would say, is a little tougher than Pro Stock. But we'll see what happens. And a lot of people are asking me if I'm trying to go after JEG's records for different classes and all that. And JEG can tell you, just like I'll tell you, all we want to do is go race and have a good time. I don't care what it's in, as long as we be competitive and have a chance to win. The multi-class deal is cool, but I just want to go win races and routes.
I agree. But I like that record, though, 7 eliminators. To me, that's something really special that maybe we don't make a big enough deal of. And there's a couple of people, you are one of them, who have the flexibility, versatility, and opportunity to do it. And Jeg is the guy, and, obviously whatever happens, happens. 7 eliminators. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's really unheard of if you think about it. Just to win one national event in life is just, you're truly blessed, because so many people have tried, and it's tough. I mean, this is a tough game, and nowadays it's even tougher because it seems like maybe less people are traveling as far, but the ones that do, there's some hitters. I mean, but anybody's got a shot to win this deal. So I think it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be different. It's the same type tree as a Pro Stock car, so I'm happy to see that more than just being in the Pro Stock car, but we'll see what happens, and JEG's record's tough, and who knows if, you got Pete Biondo, Justin Lamb. There's a whole lot of guys, the Richardsons, that have a chance that can do the same thing, but I like my chances maybe I've won factory stock before, and I think when I won it, it wasn't necessarily a class, so maybe I'll get one of those knocked out for the season's over, and then if we do something at all with the Super Comp car, that just puts us closer to that record, but my main goal is just to go have fun.
Okay, so what we're just doing a little paperwork here. Pro Stock, Comp, Stock, Super Stock, right?
Yeah, and Super Street.
And Super Street. So we got you at 5 official categories. The factory stock win, as you said, is like sort of in question.
I won that. I think I won it in Vegas, Indy, and I think Gainesville. So I won that like 3 times. But before it was what it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so but it counts.
It's not necessarily a big wally, but I don't know, that class is pretty truly amazing. I'm blown away by those cars. They're impressive.
So that's 6 different eliminators right there. Like what we just listed, if we include factory stock. Like I have no doubt that some point in the next 5 factory stock showdown races, you're going to be able to get through on one of them. But you never know until you do it. But let's just pretend factory stock is one of them. That means if you were to win in Super Comp or Super Gas, or Top Alcohol Dragster, like whatever you put together, that would be 7.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, that would be cool. And but again, I don't care what it's in or what class. I've got some good people behind us in the factory shootout car. Same way with Pro Stock, and that's my goal to win for those guys, because when we win, they win, and it's kind of like win on Sunday, sell on Monday. So that's what we shoot for.
Well, very good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Pro Stock, and then we'll just kind of segue into factory stock. Qualified third, but what I want to know is this, okay? And this is like a vague question, and maybe you don't know the answer, but how do you go from a season like last year to a season like this year when you had the same, maybe not the exact same engine, but is it because the engines are more powerful? Is it because you were doing something wrong? Is it because you guys got lost? Were you not trying? Like, imagine the different possible thoughts that people are wondering, like, what the heck happened last year to this year that enabled you to go from in the weeds in your championship defense to, let's call it, dominance, total dominance so far in 2019?
Well, like you mentioned, other than us putting a new body on the car to make it a 19, it's the exact same car. It's the same car I won the championship with. I'm using the same engine. Everything else is the same. I started out last season very strong. We won Pomona. I think we ran decent in Phoenix, and got runner-up to Tanner in Gainesville. So we started out strong, and something happened mid-season. I'm going to tell you what, that's about the time I think maybe some of the track prep changed. I know we changed with some, maybe Goodyear changed some different tire stuff, but something definitely made our car qualify more in the middle or even the top of the bottom, which we were definitely not used to. So it's very, very hard to win the rounds when you go show up Sunday morning, first thing out. So the 8-9 spot is definitely a disadvantage. At least it is for us, because we tend to maybe pull back a little more than others just to be safe to get down the track. Well, if we combine that with me maybe being 40 or 50 first round, that spells a lot of first round losses. So this year our goal was to qualify better and not be the first pair out, learn a little more, and the track prep has maybe came to our car. I mean, I think the track prep changed a few times last year, but it seems like we're making better runs and just being consistent. And maybe we're not playing with the car as much, just kind of leaving it alone. So I can't understand. There's no reason, but we're very happy with the outcome this year. And again, I'm very happy we decided to race again.
Yeah, I think everybody is. And this is a perfect example, like, to everybody. Don't walk away. Things are about to get really good. You just, you gotta keep working. So round one, Wally Stroop. Wally's one of these guys that I want to see him do well and have success and be out there more. Qualified 14th, but, you got after him with a 662, what it took to win that round. And then setting up a battle against Chris McGahey in the second round. You left ahead of Chris, and that was a whole shot victory. Chris was, 054. Do we want to call that late? Do we want to call it average? Whatever we call it. He outran you and didn't take the stripe.
Right. That was, Wally Stroop, like you mentioned, one of the nicest guys, and his family, his father. I've known him for a long time back in NHRA days. Very happy to see him get some help, and hopefully he's going to stay out here. But an absolute great guy. And he strapped a 15 light on me, which was pretty amazing. And I saw a whole lot of his car. A lot more than I wanted to. So then we go into Chris, and Chris was very fast race day. He ran. I think he was low for he was low for first round, and he stepped it up. I don't know if they've got a new car or what they got, but that was another good race where I had to do my job. And not only do you have to try to be on time on the tree, but you have to hit your shift points. You have to keep the car in the center of the grooves because you're slow down out there on the marbles. And it's very, a lot of people don't understand. It looks like we're just going up and down the track, but there's a lot to it to make a good run. You have to almost be perfect. That's what Jason Lyon told me from day one.
On that note, Pro Stock's return. What did the fans say to you? Did people say, because I don't imagine that the people in Richmond maybe realized that you guys had missed Houston, Charlotte, and Atlanta, but I certainly noticed. What was the response? Did you have people talk to you about not being out there? I wrote a column in NHRA National Dragster about Pro Stock and how it's fundamentally different than most of the other racing out there because you guys are doing something different. Like you said, you have to be perfect. You got to shift it at 10,400 and 50 RPM.
You're shooting for 10.5 every hit. Hopefully your chip doesn't come in early. You have to be perfect. And the fans at Richmond are great. They're big Pro Stock fans. Actually, when I was in Charlotte in the factory shootout car, we have a lot of people that the fans didn't even realize we weren't there with the other cars. And some of them were upset. A lot of them told me they bought their tickets a year in advance. And they're like, hey, we're Pro Stock fans. We might not necessarily bought our tickets if we knew you weren't going to be here. So all I can keep telling them is, hey, thanks for the support. And they're telling us that they're going to maybe split it up next year so it won't be the same races. And I think that's very smart of them. So the big mountain motor guys, they're fun to watch and they're cool. They have hood scoops, but we still have we have a strong fan base, and they might be different than the Nitro fan base. So who knows? But I'm glad we're back. We're going to miss Topeka, and we're going to miss Bristol. I mean, we all love Bristol. That's kind of close to home. But after that, I think then we have Epping we missed. But after that, we're wide open again. So I hope all the fans do understand it wasn't our choice, but next year it should be different races.
But that having been said, the 18-race schedule is one of the reasons you came back.
Oh yeah, but now Joe, with the tractor shootout, I think I have maybe 2 races off. So they seem to maybe put them to where maybe the pro stock's not at, which I'm not complaining because that's a fun class. But the fans really love that deal. Like I had both cars in the pits in Virginia, and it's really funny. But I race a Ford at one end and I have a Chevy at the other end. But I had at one time maybe 12 guys over there checking the Mustang out, and not so many people checking the pro stock car out. So it's drawing a whole new crowd, which I think is great for NHRA and great for the sport. But it's pretty neat to have both companies, and we have support from both, and they actually seem okay with me racing both. So it's the fan base is there.
That is great. And I'm going to focus in on what I thought was a big moment when we talk factory stock in a minute. But semifinal round, you versus Jeg. Jeg, obviously, number 2 last year. You guys left together, a couple of thou, and you put down a 660 with a 2. That was a big run right there at the semis, and you go to the final against Greg.
Yeah, Jeg's always tough. We've raced like in all the classes he's won and I've won. We probably ran each other in most all of them. So we kind of from the same division, kind of grew up racing each other. He is as good as there ever will be or has been. Same way with my final round opponent, Greg. That's our boss, and he's the man. And Greg's always he's always right there and always has a fast ride. But we have the same car, and actually in the semifinals, I didn't do the best job, I thought, shifting. So I knew I left a little bit on the table, and I knew there was a 59 out there if I could just go back out and duplicate it. And we happened to hit it in the final against Greg. So good to see Jason qualify number 1. Good for the whole KB team. We had four or five. I mean, Fernando was fast. Fernando was the fastest car, and I think in round 1. But all the cars are close, and now you just have to drive. That's the fun part.
That is. And so in the final round, you and Greg, 5 thou win margin goes to you. You take the win. And, 4 out of 5 races in pro stock, amazing, leading the points. The countdown, as much as we feel like it's a long way away, it's not that far away for you guys. You're already past halfway.
Yeah, it's amazing when they did mention that. Halfway point for the countdown. I'm like, holy cow, we just started, it seems like. But, yeah, I can't complain about the countdown. If no matter where we go into it at, it starts over. And if I was 8th again like I was last year, I'd be tickled to death start over. So it works both ways for everybody, and countdown is going to be tough, and there's no possible way to pick a winner.
Absolutely not. All right, now over to factory stock. And so what's interesting is that, to say it in a crass way, right, you were a loser before you were a winner, in that you ran the factory stock final before you ran the pro stock final. I spoke with Drew Skillman on Factory Stock Podcast this week, and he told me flat out that you guys were like jawing at each other on a flight. And he says, it's okay, Bo, you can win pro stock, but I'm going to win factory stock. And that's really what happened. But before you made the final in factory stock, you had the very interesting opportunity. You were racing against a KB-powered Camaro in your Holbrook-powered Mustang right before you go jump in a KB-powered Camaro. Like, to me, like, that was fun. You're going against your guys, but then you're running for them.
Yeah, that is so cool, and it's just what, Joe, it's what makes drag racing great. I mean, we're all tied together one way or another. So just due to the factory stock deal is so awesome that we probably are working harder on that, my team, than we are the pro stock team, but we have more control over that. So actually, as soon as Chicago's over, I'll be down at Bowling Green testing Monday and Tuesday again. Well, it's kind of taken off because now Skillman's going to come test with me. Where I've done it between every race that we've had. So it's going to be another pro stock in my eyes when it comes to work. But Drew the whole week even before we got to the plane, he's like, yeah, you can go ahead and win pro stock. I'm going to win the factory shootout. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So it comes to that point, and he knew what he was talking about because he sure beat us. So it's going to be a neat season. I'm happy for the Fords. I think NHRA is doing as good a job as they can do, maybe to balance them out. They've got them all very, very close, and it's good racing. But what the racers and the fans don't know, a lot of them don't understand, is you have to go A to B in that class. So we can probably go faster, but we're going to give that up just to get off the starting line sometimes, and that's not going to change.
The way your car left in the final round, can we, like, do that every time? Like, that's what it's got to be. Like, that was awesome.
We can't. Yeah, we can do that, Joe, but that also cost me the race. They probably hurt it 300 or 400 because it got way up too high over the marbles. And actually in high gear in that car, my car was blowing the tires off, hitting the high side chip way before the finish line. So it's amazing a car that heavy can still do that to a 9-inch tire like that. But yeah, I like to think even him having me on the tree, I think we had a good tune on the car. And Jason Lee from PTP Racing, I brought him in full time this year, which he used to help me back in 06 when I won the comp championship with a Pro Charger car. And then we still have the big stuff, and we actually have the new Gen 4 big stuff. And I can go ahead and tell you that it caused a quite commotion. I don't know if you've heard anything, but our Gen 4 is wireless. It's capable of being wireless tuning. So my guy is actually walking around the staging lanes and the starting line tuning my car as I'm doing a burnout. And some of the other racers didn't agree with that or thought maybe we were doing something funny. But, again, you have to study the track, read the track, and you have to go A to B. So it's a neat deal, and it's way above its time.
Can you go a little deeper in the explanation? So for me, who doesn't understand, and like, when does the final tune go into the car for the run that you're about to make? Did you say the water box?
I'll tell you this. When I test in Bowling Green, he'll sometimes be sitting in the stands, and as I'm staging the car, he'll be playing with the idle and the throttle. So it's instant. It's pretty neat. But some of the racers even thought maybe he was doing it as I was going down track. But if I could find somebody that good that can watch it live and tune, I think that'd be pretty awesome. But it's just something new, and some people are scared of new stuff. But it's definitely probably the most awesome system I've seen. I look for it to blow up. I mean,
in a good way.
They've got phone apps. They got phone apps. You got everything to make it simple. But you have to have new technology to be able to compete, and it's pretty neat.
Okay, so, well, exactly the point, because, I've been thinking about these two different, like, cross sections. I hear you mentioned hood scoops earlier, okay? That's kind of touched a nerve with me because, I like hood scoops, but I don't care, really. Like, big deal, right? Like, whatever. Does it have a hood scoop? Does it not have a hood scoop? Is it fast? What are we talking about here? And I like the technology also. And so here on the Factory Stock Showdown car, you have a cutting-edge technology that the company, they're trying to sell them, right? They're trying to sell them to other racers. And because you are going out there and racing their stuff and showing the world, this is great. Look at all the good stuff you can do with this. People are going to buy it, right? That's
Absolutely.
Part of it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point in the whole class. Ford, Chevrolet, and Mopar, I'm sure they like building race cars, but at the end of the day, they need to make a profit. And for them to make a profit, it helps the whole racing community. So it's a neat deal. I love anybody to come by that does a race, and if I have the Mustang there to show it to you, it's just capable of way more than I'm capable. That's why I had to hire somebody full time that kind of understands this stuff. But it's a complete guinea pig, so it doesn't have to always work. But so far, I didn't have it in Charlotte, and it kind of bit us. So we had it and got down every run in Virginia, which was hard to do. It's hard to do in these cars. So I'm very happy with it. And like I say, it's going to explode.
Wow. Well, that's great. Now, just to juxtapose it to the Pro Stock deal, you can't use that in Pro Stock, correct? Pro Stock is much more limited to the Holley system. When does the final tune go into the Pro Stock car?
That will go in before I pull out to go up the staging lanes. And that's kind of sucks to that. I think maybe if we're up there for a long time with the oil down or something, Jason might, if the air would change or something, but there's not a lot we can do. We're stuck with one throttle body. We're stuck with the same system. So there's not a lot you can do, but if they would ever open that deal up and let you do your own amount of injectors or where you want them and all this, Pro Stock would definitely outrun the old Pro Stock carburetor cars. Doesn't necessarily need a hood scoop, but just some changes to be made. But I just be neat if they would open it up, and I think it would be a whole different class. It'd be neat.
Well, that's where I'm getting at, Bo, and you're the guy to ask, right? You got both in your pit. You got the same crew chief working on both. And I know in Pro Stock motorcycle, there's multiple fuel injection systems, right? Who's got electric carburetors? Who's got Motec? Who's got this? Who's got that? Yep. And isn't that part of what's interesting? I've seen a lot of people like asking for carburetors to come back. And I don't feel that. Can't think of a situation where going back to old technology is a good thing. Like, hey, let's go back to black and white TVs, or like that just doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Why should it exist in drag racing?
Yeah, we don't want to back up. They're never, to my knowledge, going to build another car that you go buy with carburetors. Haven't built carburetor cars in forever, but I agree 100%. We need to try to be better, but open it up. And I know they don't want any big advantages, but make it open to where anybody can buy any system. Everybody is available. So it's good. I don't know, but that's what it's cool about the Factory Shootout. I mean, there's some Motecs out there, some Pro Mod teams that are wireless capable. So I'm not sure that their tuner is running around the starting line, because that was really messing up some of the other teams so bad. It kind of made them beat before they ran me, if that makes sense. So whatever you can do to get an advantage, but we kind of made a deal with NHRA that once I finished the burnout, that he would close the laptop and put it on the wall. So we didn't want people to think we were trying to do anything. I mean, I've got Summit Racing, Ford, Speed Dog, Nitro Fish, Mickey Thompson. I got all these people behind me on that car. I can't afford to do anything that's not legal, or let people think that way. You know what I mean? Because all those companies are straight.
Absolutely. All right, so Skillman, is he going to win the championship?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know which one, but they both got a good shot. But yeah, unless they fall early, they're going to be hard to catch. There is no countdown on that deal. There is no start over. So me missing Gainesville hurt a little bit, but it's still a learning curve for us, and we just want to go out and win some races for these folks and do the best we can do. Sportsman,
you're supposed to say no, Bo. The answer is no, then that you're going to beat him. Can't you get next to him first round with that Sportsman ladder? You just got to qualify. There's a good chance he'll be first. Can't you qualify ninth and figure out how to shut him down? I talked to Drew hours ago for Factory Stock Podcast, and he says that, you are his biggest threat, and he would love to run you early to end it.
Okay, well, just tell him I'm going to go for the number 1 spot. He can be number 9. I'm good with that. But those cars are so hard to go A to B, and if you kill too much, his father. Look at Bill first round. They killed the car too much, and he got beat first round. Just to be safe to get down the track. He didn't have any other issues. It was just a tune that they put in the car. So it's I haven't learned how to slow one down 200 or 300 yet. So. We that's why we're going to go do some more testing. Maybe we'll find something like that.
Well, I think that, Drew leads with 294. Bill is there with 212. You with 205. I feel like David Barton, who's coming on, but I think is too far back at 170 points to gain on Drew. I just don't see that happening. I think you're the last guy with a chance with 5 races remaining. It's going to be awesome. We're loving the category, and it's just a whole lot of fun. Bo, thank you so much for coming on the show. You were going to say? Go ahead.
No, that's great. I agree. It's really a cool class. I'm gonna be honest, Joe, and I've said this to everybody. I'm glad Drew's over there and out of Pro Stock. Drew's a heck of a driver, and it shows him whatever he drives. It wasn't too long ago he just won a stock eliminator race. So very good driver, and it's going to be fun racing with him.
It is fun watching regardless. I just want to see both of these classes thrive. That's what we need, because it's great stuff. It's great racing. And I'm interested to see out there in Super Comp. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I guess Tyler is going to do the throttle stop stuff?
Oh, yeah. I halfway understand there's like a ratio to them, but, I'm going to you might want to get there very early, because I'm obviously get busted early, so we'll see. But my goal is just to go and try to win some rounds for his family and have a good time.
That is great stuff. No, it is going to be a whole lot of fun. Bo, congratulations. We'll see you there this weekend. Good luck in Super Comp. Good luck in Pro Stock. It's been very fun watching you in Factory Stock. And that's the deal, man. The season is rolling, and you've done a great job so far. But, you start off hot. You got to stay hot because, believe it or not, the countdown is not that far away. Bo, thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. See you later.
Thanks, Bo. Bo Butner with us here on WFO Radio. And I could talk to Bo all day, and I really appreciate him giving us 30 minutes of his time. And that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier for you podcast listeners. And some of you are expecting a 15-minute podcast, right? And this is a constant debate, like my arc and my story. I started off doing 4-hour-long talk shows. The point is people need entertainment in the middle of their work day, and they've got task-oriented job, and they're looking to gobble up some time with something that interests them. And in our modern civilization, like all of a sudden it's a minute 30 seconds, like we're listening to these old doo-wop songs that listen to a minute 30, Frankie Valli, minute 30, 2 minutes, that's it, max time, because people have a short attention span. Well, they've always had a short attention span, but I am not going to extract the information that I got from Bo Butner right there in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen. You got to have a conversation. You got to dig deep. The Super Comp stuff. Who's involved? What's he doing? Why is he doing it? What's the story? Who's running the throttle stop? There's your 10 minutes right there. Factory Stock Showdown. What's going on? What do you think about this? What do you think of Drew? You got a little battle with Drew going on? Is he going to beat you? Is he going to whoop you? What's the story? There's 10 minutes. Pro Stock. Fuel injection. What does he think about that? These fuel injection. I got 100 questions. And why should we have to cut it down to 10 minutes of digestible, easy stuff? No, man. No. I reject it. And so if you're one of those wonderful listeners, and I appreciate you and love you, right? That's why we have a pause button. You're done in 10 minutes? Good. Pause. Come back. Come back. But I'm not going to cut off the guests. I'm going to keep on going. We're going to extract the information. We're going to do it. And the show is going to be 2 hours sometimes. Sometimes it's going to be 3 hours. And that's great. I know it takes a little longer to download, but you get it. All right, Scott Palmer going to be next, but right now I'm going to tell you about Hangstafurs, metalworking lubricants. Hangstafurs.com. Their primary goal is to maximize your performance in the shop. They want to make your tools last longer. They want to make your cuts go quicker. And they are all around the world to help you out. They make highly refined petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products. Whatever your needs, they have the best products to improve your metalworking processes. They've got over 100 affiliates throughout the world. It's a global network that is perfectly integrated with research and development teams to help you. If you have a shop, if you've got a factory, if you use, like we said, petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products, they are the ones to go to. DSR, JFR, and a lot of the top teams in NHRA drag racing already use Hangstafurs. The best thing you can do is go to hangstafurs.com or give them a call, 800-433-LUBE in North America. That's 800-433-LUBE. Hopefully you will try to tell them that you heard about it on WFO Radio. But the point is, Hangstafurs is something that can help you, something that can make your work better, keep your tools lasting longer, make your cuts even better, and make you more efficient in what you do. Check them out, Hangstafurs Metalworking Lubricants at hangstafurs.com. When we come back, it's going to be my time, tail end of the show, and I'm going to give some of it to Scott Palmer after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one.
Honest. Listen.
Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors, Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically, less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292. 292 Hussey Performance copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
This is Jeff Rice, a.k.a. Deep and Hot. I just want to let you know that NHRA Nitro is probably the best coverage of NHRA drag racing, period. How can you not like a 3.5-hour broadcast with all the winners specifically for drag racing? WFO rules the airwaves.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Final segment, NHRA Nitro before the Route 66 Nationals, following up the Virginia Nationals, and we got a lot going on. Very excited to head out there. Jags All-Stars, it's all going on. Of course, the final segment is the My Time segment, where I tell you about a bunch of stuff that's going on, and occasionally I will have a special guest, and this given week, it is Scott Palmer, who has been running much better lately, just keeps running into Steve-O, and he joins us now. Scott, how are you doing? Where are you?
Doing great. We're actually on the road. We just left the southern Missouri area. We're headed to Sikeston, Missouri today to the Magic Dry Cat Spot plant where it all happens at. So we're stopping by there and check it out and hang out with the employees a little bit and go to dinner, and then we're headed straight on to Chicago.
Wow, that is cool. Now, I saw a great story on Competition Plus, about how you're going to run that Evel Knievel tribute out there, and I think that is great. Now, you told us on the NHRA social media team a while back, which I thought that was pretty cool, but I'm looking at the photo of the Evel Knievel Museum bag of Magic Dry. What's up with that?
Evel Knievel Museum and Magic Dry, I mean, we're working this deal together, and this is a great deal because we actually have this is a deal with the museum, but it also involves the Knievel family. So this is I tell everyone, this is a legit deal. This is not some bootleg deal we're putting on the card with Evel Knievel on it. So I'm excited because Evel Knievel was, he was my hero. I mean, I looked up to him. He was a rebel, and I've had to one my whole life to survive. So I love it. I can't wait for everyone to see this car. It's out of this world.
And this is coming out for Kansas, so in 2 weekends. We got the Route 66 Nationals first, but you're going to unveil it out there in Kansas. And, what's going to happen? Are you going to be at the museum? The museum is just very close to the track. We drive right by it from the hotel that we happen to stay at. But, how is this going to work? Just so everybody understands, I am putting Scott totally on the spot here. I have not prepared him for any of these questions, but you can answer what you know.
It's not going to be one of those deals. It's going to be one of those deals. We don't. There's we're not a real fancy kind of deal. It won't be anything like that. We're gonna do some stuff at the museum. We have the Evel Knievel Scott Palmer apparel that's going to be available only at the museum and only online, so people will be able to go by there and get an Evel Knievel shirt with the dragster on it, which is going to be cool. But we're going to unveil it when we roll it out of the trailer to race, because we intend to go there and win that race. It's going to be warm weather, and we just think it's going to be a great race to really go for it. I'm so excited about the Evel Knievel deal. Nobody could possibly understand.
Yeah, well, I know. Talk about I'm looking at the label, the bag, the Magic Dry bag, and I think the NHRA logo, and I look at the Evel Knievel #1, and just like all the different common threads. I think about Snake and Mongoose and Mattel Toys, and I think about Evel Knievel and that toy, the motorcycle that would do the wheelie. Like, they are of the same era. They are part of, all of us who grew up in that era. They are, I'm a drag racer, and so kind of a co-equal brand. I'm not a motorcycle guy, but Evel Knievel, come on, man. Every time he was on TV, I was watching.
I mean, it was Wild World of Sports. It wasn't like there was no satellite channels then. We all lived to see Wild World of Sports, and Evel Knievel was on it. I mean, I watch all that stuff all the time. It's crazy how crazy he was, when you look back at what he jumped on and these motorcycles with no suspension and no trick. The ramps are in the museum in the original truck that he hauled around the country. When you see the ramps, it looks like they're wooden planks. There was no engineer designing a ramp. It was you throw some planks down there up over some Greyhound buses and hit the gas and hope you make it. It was crazy.
Yeah. No, amazing. And there have been various stories, movies, documentaries that I think everybody should watch to truly understand. Like, this guy was a real, because some people don't like him, Scott. You know that. I'm sure you've encountered. Some people thought he was a little too much, but he was an American icon.
We stop in Butte, Montana when we leave Seattle every year, and they didn't have it last year, but it's Evel Knievel days. Well, in Butte, Montana, he's not quite as popular as he was all over the world because, he was not an upstanding citizen his whole life. But I met a guy actually there that's probably, however old he is. They went to school together, and this guy told me stories last year in Butte, Montana about Evel Knievel and, things that he had done, shoplifted in his aunt's store. And I mean, these stories were real. This was coming from someone that grew up with him. So it was just a great to know the whole side of it, because you go in a place in Butte, Montana and say, yeah, I'm here because of Evel Knievel. They don't necessarily, they're not doing a backflip over Evel Knievel. Some of them. Now they're still proud of what happened, but when they tell stories, it's usually about this rebel side of Evel Knievel, which I like. I like that because, he did what he had to do to make it, and that kind of goes over with guys like me and Laganas and, all the guys who have had to struggle to make it.
Yeah,
gives us all hope.
I understand. Well, but at the same time, we also see the civilization, smoothing a little bit, way back in the day, like the Wild West. You think about like the outlaw Jesse James, right? Like he was a legend that went around, but he was doing some bad stuff, committing crimes. Okay, look, Knievel wasn't committing crimes. He smoothed it out. He was doing stunts. Right? He created a stunt show. He realized, hey, people want to pay to watch me jump over stuff. I can do it. I'll figure out how to do it. Yeah. And he did it. And look at you now. You drive a 330-mile-per-hour top-fuel dragster. You're a good person who is not doing, for the most part, you're not breaking laws. And kids are looking up to you. So it's the same thread, but as time goes by, like more people are, figuring out how to do it in a smoother, better way.
Yeah, back then there wasn't smoother ways to make this happen. So, back then, I mean, God, man, that was a long time ago. I think back at that, and you just think, how did he manage to do what he did back then and come from nothing? So, if you go, everybody should go to this museum. This is a first-class museum. This is not a sideshow on the side of the highway. This is a first-class operation. And if you don't even know who Evel Knievel is, you'll know when you walk out, and you'll respect it when you leave.
That is great stuff. They know Evel Knievel. I don't know if they know Awful Knaufel, but that is a different story for a different day.
That's exactly right.
Right? See, I know my stuff.
Yeah.
I watch the documentaries. All right, let's talk about you and your team and how Steve Torrence is helping you and hurting you all at the same time, because you guys have turned a corner in a big way. The car's going down the racetrack. You've got consistency. It's just you're running into the wrong guy the past couple of races.
Yeah, but we've 4 races in a row. We've got by the first round, and second round is tough. That's your next obstacle in this deal. But we've been 4 in a row. It's the first time we've got out of the first round 4 times in a row since we've raced. But like you said, the first rounds are tough. There are no easy draws. There's not an easy car in the field anymore. So qualifying spot, if you're not number 1, you're going to race somebody super tough, a full-time competitive car. And sometimes if you're number 1, it's the same thing. So if you get by round 1, you're going to get a real badass round 2. So be ready. And we tried to be ready for Steve, and even though they help us, they also want us to race. And to be real honest, it was a close race. I mean, it's a compliment to our team to be that close to the world champion.
Absolutely. You left on him a little bit, too. Just
barely, but I'll take that.
Yeah, well, you did. Someone's got to leave first, right? And it was you. It was like, who left first? Scott Palmer left first. Steve drove around 87 at 319, but still a very solid run, and you outran a lot of the cars out there in the second round. Just unfortunately, you were running Steve. Looking at the point standings, and everybody needs to know, Scott and I have been talking about this for the past couple of weeks out at the racetrack, that, time to get moving, man. It's going to be tough making the countdown. You've made the countdown the past couple of years, sitting 11th in the point standings, but really one round out of 9th. And there's a lot of cars between 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And so here we go again, Scott. You're going to be in a fight. And this race, there's 21 top fuel dragsters trying to qualify for 16 spots.
Oh, it's going to be a fight for sure. It's definitely going to be tough. And in this, we've got ourselves in the same position that we've been in. It's tougher this year because you got Proc running, you've got, and that car's fast. They just got Mike Green on board, so it's going to get better and better. And we don't really we work off of our Torrance tune-up, and that's what we work with. But I'm still sticking with the program, even if it costs us getting in the countdown. We're going to be more aggressive. If we smoke the tires and we lose some rounds and we don't get in the countdown, I'll take that, because I'm tired of going up there racing in defense, hoping somebody messes up. If somebody messes up and it's us, we can go look in the mirror and figure out where it came from. But every time they smoke the tires and we smoke the tires, we want it to be our fault that we lost, instead of just hope a big three team smokes the tires against us. I'm just tired of that. I want to race an offense now, and if it costs us being in the countdown at the end, I can live with it.
But I also think that's the reason you've won first round 4 races in a row.
I do too. I think it finally came around. Now, the first of the year, when I said I was going to start doing that, I did hear a few people say, you need to go back and go down the track consistent. I said, well, go down the track consistent and you're slower than everyone doesn't win you any rounds either. So we're going to learn how to race aggressively, and that's what we're doing. Now, last weekend was tough because of the heat, but this weekend, if you've looked at the forecast for Chicago, you better be aggressive when you get here, because it's going to be tough.
Wow, very, very interesting. Now, Tommy Thompson, who's making it all possible, and, Cat Spot and Magic Dry and all that stuff, he's a racer, and he wants to win. And, what's his attitude about the team? And, like, if he could choose, does he give you advice? Does he say, Scott, go do this? What is it that he tells you? Does he want you to try to, like, I'm going to use the word blow it up, but you know what I mean. Like, go out there and, get after it. What is his attitude about what's going on?
Sometimes he'll say get after it, but usually he knows that and I told him when we started this deal, I'll do this deal with you, but I'll spend your money like it's my money. That means I'm not going to just go out there and blow it up for no reason. And we've been, I wouldn't say conservative, because we've been running it hard, but there comes a point where it's not worth the sacrifice you have to make. And if, like, we want to try to run a high 60 or low 70, well, we've run 72s. We've run quite a few low 70s, but this weekend you're going to have to probably try to go a little faster. And when you've never been that fast, you got to take a little bit smaller bites at it instead of just try to throw the sink at it. And that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to go to our 72 tune-up after we the first thing you have to do is get in the show when there's 21 cars. You got to go down the racetrack, and then you can Hail Mary it maybe for the next 2 or 3 runs. That's what we're going to do.
Q1 going to be very interesting with everybody, like, trying to get that, I hate this, but A to B pass, like a high 70, low 80, like A to B pass that's going to enable them to build upon for the rest of the weekend.
That's the key to the whole thing, is when you miss your first run, Q1 is the most important run of the weekend. If you make it to the finish line, you get a little breathing room. If you don't, then the Friday night run, you have to do it. Well, there you missed your chance to improve on your qualifying spot, so you're behind the rest of the time. So we need to get down the racetrack the first run. And it's going to be, we go from the hottest conditions to probably, it looks like by the weather, some of the best conditions we'll have all year. So now you go from tire smoke to tire shake if you don't make the right call. And I have a lot of faith in the tune-up and the setup that Torrance lets us have from them. So that helps us a lot. That really helps us.
You know, I was told, John Worm, Audrey's dad, they had their best career run. They ran in the threes finally. And I had a conversation with him, and he got, I don't want to characterize it, a little emotional just about how the Torrances and the Dom and Bobby in particular, help out other teams. And he said that if people out there knew how the big teams help the small teams, it would change their view of the big teams. Because there are people who are still like, oh, the big teams, blah, blah, blah. It would be better if everybody just had a one-car team and whatever. You have been talking about that for a long time. And I like hearing it from other people, too, that the fans need to know that.
They do, and I'll tell you something else about their 390 run. People have lost sight of what a 390 run is and how fast that is. Quarter mile time. I mean, when we go back to quarter mile time, look this up. A 390 run is probably a 368 run, or a 468 in the quarter mile. Now that is a fast run. They ran a 460 in the quarter mile, so that's a huge accomplishment for them.
Right. I get what you're saying. Is that our we've gotten jaded. Is what it is. It's like, oh yeah, $3.99. Yeah, that's not fast for a top field drag. No, you go do it. You figure out how to go buy the stuff and do it. It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's very hard. I mean, back when it was quarter mile, it took us years to run a 460 run. I mean, we ran, 490, 480s, not long ago. I mean, and then for them to come out and get their 390 run, I'm just not sure people who. You lose sight of what that run really is in quarter mile time, because the quarter mile time back then is what most people are more accustomed to. So they don't realize that 390 run is so fast. And that was a great run. It was exciting.
And they went crazy. Exactly. And it was good to see, and it was fun to see. And it puts a period on it when you see everybody like, hey, congratulations, welcome to this club. I thought it was great stuff. Scott, any final thoughts? What's your music for Friday night? You going to go with the Alice in Chains again? Are you going to switch it up? What are you going to do?
I never drift away from Alice in Chains. You can't go wrong with Alice in Chains. That's all. That'll always be. It'll be an Alice in Chains song. The song I've got is it makes me smile when I hear that in the helmet. So I probably won't change for a while.
That's good. No, it's good. I love the way how you get fired up for the camera when they stick the camera in your face. That's exactly what people want to see, that the driver is excited to do what he's about to do. And I think others have seen you do that, and they started to do it a little bit, as opposed to ignoring the camera. You know what I mean? Like, just totally ignore what's going on. You interact with it. That's good.
Well, and Steve Torrance tells me every week, go out there and, rip some faces off. It's time to fight now. And, hey, you're talking to a team of guys who don't mind that at all. So that's what we're doing. We're just that music just makes me feel like I'm supposed to be in the seat of that car.
That is awesome. Scott, congratulations on climbing up 4 races in a row out of the first round. We got to see you get out of the second round, though, this week, and that will help you out in the point standings as well. You're in a battle, my friend. You're in a battle.
This is a big battle. We're like 2 points out of 10th, and I think 20-something points out of 9th. It's crazy how close it's going to be, and it's going to be a fight to the end. And, without Magic Dry and Cat Spot, we can't do it. So get on the website, order some. It doesn't matter how small the order is. All the orders count.
So what's up with the Evel Knievel Museum bag? Like, is that for any Magic Dry that you order between now and a certain time? Or, like, when does that happen? What's the story?
We'll have like 400 bags of it, I believe, at Topeka. Here's the crazy thing. And we haven't even really announced this. This just came out yesterday, but I've sold 150 bags since this happened, pre-ordered. I've got pre-orders of it. And, a lot of bike enthusiast or whatever, they're going to probably put it on a shelf or something, I guess, or whatever. But what they need to do is buy 2 bags because they need to use it, because it's not more expensive than the normal bag of Magic Dry. It's just a deal we're doing with the museum and the Knievel family. So it's a good deal. It's going to be a cool thing to have. We got some cool shirts coming out with it, and I mean, it's going to be awesome.
All right.
And the fire suit, RJS, Jeff at RJS, the owner, wait till you guys see this fire suit. It's going to be out of this world. And then this fire suit will go in the museum with my helmet. I've got an Evel Knievel helmet that I'm taking out of the museum and wear it there with the fire suit. And then we'll have this RJS fire suit in the museum with the helmet. It's going to be awesome.
You going to have a cape? Is there going to be a cape?
It does have a cape.
There it is. Okay, so everybody wants to know, and I know I'm pressuring you with information, but it's just I know the listeners, They're like, okay, well, wait, do I order that at magicdryus.com? Where do I get, you said you've got orders, yep. So where do people, like the WFO listeners now, you're talking to them specifically, where do they, how do they hit you up to get this special bag? Because they want it.
Yep, magicdryus.com. Magic Dry. If you just look up Magic Dry Racing or Magic Dry US or Magic Dry, Google it, get on the website, order it. You can get on my Facebook, send me a message, tell me what you want, and we'll get it to you. We will get you the product. I guarantee you we'll get it to you.
See, there you go.
It's impressive. I'm going to send you, I'll put up a picture of the bag, and you've got a picture of the bag, and I'm going to send you a sneak peek of what the car is going to look like whenever we get to Topeka. So I'll give you a sneak peek, and then when we roll it out on the back door at Topeka, that's how we're going to debut it.
Well, that's awesome. And if you don't mind, I'll mention it to the NHRA social media team so we can loop in some of the rest of the world, right? When it rolls out.
Another cool thing we're going to have there on the Midway at the Magic Drive booth on the Midway is we're going to have in the museum, they have the original Sky Cycle that he crashed into the Grand Canyon, the Snake River. But they have a replica, and they're bringing it out to the racetrack. It'll be in our Midway on display. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to see.
Hey, if you like Evel Knievel, then this is the coolest thing ever.
It is. It's going to be crazy. I'm so excited. I think it's just going to be a cool part of history that we get to share again.
Totally agree. Scott, good luck this weekend. Go get a couple round wins. Keep climbing up the points. Thank you so much for sharing this with our WFO radio listeners, and I'll see you out there in a few days.
See you in a few days. See you, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Scott. Scott Palmer with us here on WFO Radio. And you heard him. Go to magicdryus.com. If you want to get some Magic Dry, they got the spill kits. They got it all going on. You can give them a call, 833-221-2257. Or if you want the special bag, that Evel Knievel Museum bag, go to his Facebook page, Scott Palmer Racing, and give him a message. Message him. I heard you on WFO, man. I want the bag. And you should definitely get 2 bags. I would definitely get 2 bags. And I think that is pretty cool. And I have been by the Evel Knievel Museum. I have not been in the Evel Knievel Museum just yet. But I think I will this next time I head to Topeka, Kansas. Very, very cool. Thank you, Scott, for coming on the show. Once again, if you've got a cat, get Cat Spot. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you work on an oil rig, if you run a series of drag racing that is nationwide, go to magicdryus.com, the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association. Very cool. Got their spill kits, got it all. Well, that's going to do it. How about Bo Butner? How great was that? Running Super Comp. Going to be awesome. Of course, Alan Reinhart, Ron Capps. We were unable to connect with Andrew Hines and Steve Torrance, but that is okay. We will catch up with them at a later date, and you never know. The way it's been going, they'll win this weekend. Certainly, Steve-O got a good shot at that. Big thanks to all of you. It has been a very busy past couple of weeks. Memorial Day, of course, being out there in Richmond and taking my tour of American historic locations has been a lot of fun. On the Ignition Show, we will try to discuss some of that stuff. Of course, the Indy 500, the Grand Prix of Monaco, the Coke 600, all the great racing, all the great fun that has been going down over the past couple of weeks. We have had a great time. Those of you who are WFO radio listeners, remember, number one, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, but the WFO Radio mobile application for iPhone and Android is the best way to listen. Just download it. It is free. I don't know how to download an app, Joe. Well, you got a kid that's in your life, right? The neighbor's kid or whatever. Ask him. He'll tell you. Him or her. They will tell you. But that's it, folks. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be out there this weekend, Route 66. I know we got a lot of great friends that are going to be out there. Dave and Amy and others are all going to be out there hanging out, having a good time, and it is going to be awesome. So if you see me, you know I'll be at those Mellow Yellow walking tours. I start them off on Friday and Saturday. I will be at the walking tours. You don't have to go on the tour. You can definitely come by and say, what's up? And then we'll talk about, where we meet up later on. WFO. We'll just shout WFO at me. I've been having a great time working on this podcast, making it as best as is possible. Hopefully you're a fan, and if you are the listener from the first minute whose friend said, hey, check out the show, hopefully you've loved it, and you will like the next, which will be coming next week following Richmond. Now, there's a perfect example. I am going from Chicago, I said Richmond, going to Chicago, then to Masters Television for Performance TV, and then on to Candace, straight through. How am I going to do this show? I don't know. We're going to try to figure it out. We'll try to get it all worked out, dialed in. But that is going to do it. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who listens to the show. Don't forget our social media. Check out all the great stuff we're putting out there on WFO Radio's Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and others. That's going to do it. WFO, everybody. See you next time.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.